Incoming transmission. Oh no.
Welcome to TennoTalk, episode 2. I'm your host, Rebecca, and I'm accompanied by my trusty co-host, Jeremy.
Hello there.
Today we have a lot of stuff to go through. It was a very busy week in Warframe. I feel like we got a lot of information between DevStream 111 on Friday and a couple of the prime times throughout the week had a lot of really good information and stuff that's kind of coming up. So it's a lot of stuff, and not only that, we were super busy in the game. We got to do a lot of stuff that we haven't done before this week, so it was a lot of trying new experiences. And I think the most stressful thing that we worked on was formaing. We both went through and tried to work on some of our weapons and some of our frames to forma. And just to start off, I was incredibly terrified doing this. I don't know how you felt about it, Jeremy.
It was kind of scary at first, but that quickly wore off. Actually, I'm a lot more, I have a lot more positive of an outlook of formatting now, just after doing that, this week.
Yeah,
It just makes a lot more sense to me. It's not so, it felt so like when I first started looking into builds and stuff, it seemed so like finite, like you will forma this and then that's it, you're done. But
yeah.
After actually doing it and seeing how easy it was to re-level, plus I'm at MR14, like I start, if I have a good aura mod put in place, I start with like I think 30 or something, like just some outrageously high. So like my build is like half finished. The first time I put the forma in, I could put like half those mods back in. So by the time I got to the fourth forma, I had almost everything in there already.
Yeah, for me, the biggest thing was realizing that once you put the forma and you leveled it, there's nothing stopping you from going back and doing it again. So I started formaing Dread, the bow, which is really awesome. It is it's seriously my favorite weapon. If I get enough fire rate on it, it's the best thing in the world. But I also really like spy missions, so I really like that sneaky, slow sniper, but not a sniper type of thing. But the biggest thing for me was I was looking up builds and I had like one of those like little panic attacks for a second because I realized that the way that those elements have to go in there when you do elemental damage, it really does matter like which one's next to which, because that determines like what secondary stuff like blast or viral and stuff like that, or corrosive. So you really kind of have to be careful with that. So I think I stared at my mod slots for a good 20 minutes trying to figure out where I need to put everything before I started formatting. It was terrifying.
It was kind of interesting. Like, I don't know if I thought it was just magic or something, but I did not realize that the mods, like putting them next to each other, is how that figured out, like if it was going to be blast or corrosive or whatever. I guess I just thought like the game just decided that corrosive would be better than viral, and so it just forced me into that. But it turns out like I was just putting mods in the wrong spot, and I believe in magic as well. So.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with magic. I thought maybe it was just reading my mind. Like Warframe and DE somehow made the program know, like, or even not, like they're just like, all right, look, this person's stupid and we know that they probably want this damage type and not this one, so we're going to throw them a bone and let them do it right. You know?
Right, yeah. I'm not forming, but I'm modding something for Oberon, and I'm like, I want viral, and it's like, no, you want radiation. I'm like, no, I want viral, and it's like, no, you want radiation.
Exactly.
Fine, I'll take radiation, and it's like, corrosive is your friend.
Exactly. It's like inadvertently pushing you in the right direction. One of the cool things though with when I was looking at those mods is I actually got to use well, I guess it's not new, but it's new to me, corrupted mods. And we were really lucky on one of our streams this week. We had one of our viewers come with us and we did corrupted mods, which I had no idea how to do. We tried to do it at first and we realized that we needed dragon keys. And so we're like, shit, where do we get those? So we looked them up really quick and realized that we needed to get them from our dojo. I was like, well, shit, because there's only 2 people in the clan right now. You know, it's just Jeremy and I, and we're kind of doing all of our research ourselves. So I had to really quick and look like which Like, which lab does it come from? Oh, it comes from this one. All right, let me build it. Okay, let me waste my forma building these. All right, now let me rush this and let me go in here. But once we got it all sorted out, we actually went and did some of those, which was a lot of fun. Oh my goodness, those things are fun to find.
Yeah, it was kind of intense. We got super lucky because it was a group of three of us. I think we only missed
Two?
I want to say three, two.
Oh, two or three, I think, that we didn't have the
Yeah,
hobbled key with
the
us.
hobble key. Yeah, and I would say we got really lucky. I got two duplicates, but other than
Yeah.
that, they were all new corrupted mods. So I mean, I can't complain. The RN Jesus was on my side for sure.
Yeah, and not only did we get all but like two of them, we got all but two of the good ones. So like we were getting all of the ones that most of the builds need for like slow nova, speed nova, viral sense for like dread and stuff. Like we were getting the stuff we needed, which was amazing.
Yeah, there's one that I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but Valkyr uses it's Rage. It's one of the Rage mods.
Yeah,
Um, and then there's one that reduces your power in exchange for range, I think.
I
But
think it's one of those.
yeah, yeah, something like that. But those are the only two that you see pop up in builds that we did not get in a single evening. Like I can't even complain because it was one sitting from researching the Tenno lab to build the keys to having all these mods. We did it in like 3 hours.
Yeah, it
So
was great.
I mean that's a win no matter how you look at it.
Yeah, and it was really nice because we were, we each had a different key and we were going out and all of us were looking and we were, going to the capture and the exterminate to look there because those were the most likely. And I don't know, it was just really fun. It was just a really fun, and I don't know, it's like, I like finding those,
I
and we found a couple puzzles too, which was awesome.
and we failed our first capture mission ever because that slippery bastard got away from us.
Yeah, we got
It
to
was
the
kind
end
of
of it.
it was such a surreal moment. Like I got there and I was like, how did he shut a door behind him? And then it went bang, fail. And then Space Mom yelled at me like I did something wrong and I'm still confused. Like, what just happened?
Yeah, and not to mention during that whole thing, I'm probably about 5 rooms behind them because whenever I see a pot, I have to smash it. So while they were out looking, I was like backtracking through all the rooms and opening up every single container I could find. It was a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
Rebecca forgot we weren't playing Zelda.
Yeah, I was like full on pot smashing, box opening, storage chassis opening, nook and
Although
cranny, looking for everything.
you did it did pay off though because you found uh one of those special chests that you break and it makes a different sound when you break it and gives you a better reward
Yeah,
because
we got the
I
resource
forgot.
cache and we got a forma out of it.
Yeah, we got a forma.
That was really cool.
So that I mean, yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, and then we did a lot of other like new things. Like I said, it was a full like week of new things. We got the corrupted mods. We started formatting. We tried our first ever sorties, which was terrifying. And I can 100% say I was carried. 100%, no shame.
Shout out to
'Cause
barbecue.
yeah, shout out to Barbecue for carrying us through those because I don't think I was able to do that without you. But yeah, we went through sorties, and our first ever sortie that we ever did was melee only. So that was
Yep.
intense. Our second one was radiation. So there was radiation damage everywhere, and I'm pretty sure
That
I
one,
just hard died.
yeah, that one actually was kind of stressful because like there's all this like green clouds everywhere, and I was like, what the hell's going on? And it just, yeah, I just randomly died so many times.
Yeah, not only was it a radiation, but it was a radiation survival for 10 minutes against the infested. So it was just like double, triple whammy. Oof, it hurt. I don't remember the other ones, but we did do a couple more throughout the week. We tried our sorties, which was fun. And then towards
We
the end of
tried.
the week, yeah, I know, right? We tried. So we couldn't even do one of them because neither of us had sniper rifles.
Yeah,
So,
I learned I need to get a sniper rifle and get it leveled because apparently sniper rifle only sorties is a thing, and that's like my least favorite weapon in the game. So
yep.
I guess I'm
I
gonna have to.
Yep, I just don't like firing from the hip with those. Like they're so
Yeah,
inaccurate. And I'm like, dude, you're right in front of me. This is a sniper rifle. You cannot tell me that 5 meters in front of me, you're not gonna get hit with this thing. Like, ugh, it's annoying.
right. Some of the maps they're fine on like anything outside like Mars, the when you're not in the corridors, but when you're out in the valleys. And uh, Pluto and Venus, I think, the two icy planets,
Mm-hmm.
with the Corpus. There's that valley with the doors on either side.
Yeah, that's
That
fine.
yeah, it was fun there because I think I was leveling the Rubico around the time I was leveling Limbo,
Yeah.
and yeah, it worked fine. But then I'd get to a planet where it's like, the Grenier bases that are on the asteroids, those tiny little corridors, and by the time I pulled the scope up and looked through it, like I didn't know where I was even pointing at that point because shit moves around so fast. So, then you got to try firing from the hip, and you're pointing at the guy closest to you, and a guy on the other side of the room dies. And you're like, how did that even happen?
Exactly.
Guys
Yeah.
bullets are ricocheting off from behind you. You're not even pointing that direction, but yeah.
Yeah, and I think the hardest part too is like, especially because when I was leveling the first sniper rifle and I ended up selling it, I don't know which one I had, but I built one because it's like, oh, it's a sniper rifle. I like sniper rifles, and then I hate them in this game, so that works. But we were doing a defense mission, and I was able to do like the zoom in, and I was like 8 times zoom, so like super zoomed in, and it was awesome. And then I would try to fire on something closer, and I'd pull it up really quick to pull up the scope, and I'm like, where did my cursor go? Like, what am I looking at? Because I zoomed so fast, I zoomed past them, and it was terrifying.
Yeah,
Uh,
which is
like,
funny
oof.
because I don't mind sniper rifles in other games.
Oh
Like
yeah.
I'm not huge on them, but Borderlands 2, yeah, I used them.
Oh heck yeah.
Destiny, I used. Well, I preferred the assault rifles, but I used the sniper rifles occasionally.
Yeah, it was always good to have a sniper rifle on, at least in Destiny 1. I can't speak for Destiny 2 because I've only played the free trial of it, but at least in Destiny 1, the way the weapons were set out, I usually had that over the rocket launcher because
Oh,
sometimes you needed it.
I took the rocket launcher if we were doing PvP, or
Oh,
if
hell yeah.
no, I took a grenade launcher. Was that what I used in PvP?
I don't know, one of
I
them.
don't remember because
It was
I never made it
exploding.
to the special ammo. So,
Yeah. Until I got a sword, and then it was only the sword. Always the
oh,
sword.
yep, that's what it was. I forgot the swords were the heavy slot. Yeah, I was
Yep.
swords all day,
Yep.
all day.
Swords were great. And we ended up wrapping up our week with something that I know Jeremy and I've been talking about wanting to do, but it's just something like we're nowhere near this. We don't even have our first like little arcane. Like we don't know what we're doing. But we had 2 people from our stream, Sam and Viper, actually join us, and we went and took down an Eidolon, like the baby one, like the entry level Eidolon, the one that you find at night on the plains of Eidolon. And yeah, we took one down and we captured it, and that was the coolest thing I've done in this game to date. Like, no joke. That is my new favorite thing, and I want to do it all the time.
It was super cool, but it was also so chaotic. I was not prepared for how out of control I would feel. I was just running around. I was like, I don't know if I'm doing this right. I'm using my little zabby zap in spoiler mode to, shoot guys, shoot the wisps to take those sentient cores from them, and it was so crazy. Like, just I don't even know what it wasn't Viper. The other guy was playing
Sam?
Harrow.
Mm-hmm.
Sam was playing Harrow, and he would just he would use Harrow's big invincibility thing or something, and then all of us were invulnerable for the big Eidolon hit, and it just it was chaos. And I can't
It
imagine
was.
trying to take on the harder ones, but I'm so ready for it.
Yeah, I kind of really want to try to figure out what the power curve is and like what we need to do to get to the point where that's like easy peasy type of stuff. And I know when we were talking, I know when we were talking that there was a mention of a couple frames that were really good, and sadly, like I'm pretty sure I have none of those frames, so that'll be fun.
You own Trinity Prime.
True, I do own
Maybe
Trinity.
you just finally need to get Trinity leveled up.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are like, well, we don't have a Trinity, so we're gonna try this. So it really does seem like Trinity is a huge part when it comes to the healing. So I really do think in the next couple of weeks I'm gonna kind of form a her and look up some builds and try to really get into that sustained healing to do the higher level sorties and to be able to do some of the stuff that you really want that healing boost for. But I don't have Harrow, and I know Harrow they say is really good, and same with Volt, which I don't have either of those. So
And Chroma.
I don't have Chroma either. You have Harrow, Volt, and Chroma.
I do. I have all 3.
Well, there you go.
But you know which one I'm not going to be using?
Which one?
Harrow, because I've got a bone to pick with all the players out there about Harrow.
I really like when he slows stuff down so I can headshot it and kill it.
Oh yeah, me too. So there's just this weird design thing with Harrow, and I enjoy Harrow. Don't get me wrong. I'm not throwing I believe it's Pablo under the bus here. He's the DE guy that he's in charge of. Saryn, who we'll get to later. Nidus, who we'll get to later, and Harrow. I believe that's what he said on the dev workshop this week. But so Harrow's whole gimmick is Harrow penalizes himself, and then he goes full on hallway hero and starts mowing everything down around him. And then when he kills stuff, the rest of the party benefits. Like he refills their energy, or he heals them, that sort of thing.
Which is the best thing in the world. I'm just gonna throw it out there. Oh my god, that energy regen.
It's fantastic. Unless you play Saryn and Barbecue plays Banshee and you guys clear entire maps. So here I am whipping myself, getting rid of my shield completely, and then there's nobody around. I'm like, well, shit, what did I even bring Harrow for?
Yeah, so, I'm sorry.
As much as I'm not actually like being a jerk to you guys. I'm just saying, like, as fun as it is to play Harrow, and I really do enjoy him, if your party, like, first of all, I don't enjoy playing him in Pugs. He's kind of falls under the same place as some of the other frames. That I feel like your group needs to be aware that you have Harrow, and they need to be aware of how you're going to play Harrow, and to a certain extent, maybe even need to be in comms so that you can communicate, like, hey guys, I'm going to refill your energy. Please refrain from shooting guys that I've chained up. Just something like that. It just he definitely, like, he's so much fun. He definitely requires you to be a better player, but he also requires your group to be of a higher caliber, if I can say that without sounding snobbish, because that's not my point. But he's such a demanding frame for the rest of the party as well, that it does feel a little bit like a couple of times I've felt like penalized because I took Harrow. Like, I should have picked someone else who's a little more freeform, so that when Rebecca kill steals all my guys, it's actually a benefit to the group, because that should never be a bad thing. You shot a guy. Like that's a good thing in this game, unless you're playing Harrow and you need those kills, or unless you're playing Nidus, which I think I raged about on the stream this week. You're playing Nidus and you get everybody wrapped up in your squid babies, and then someone like my brother comes along with a flamethrower or rocket launcher and kills everything inside your giant squid baby, and then you don't get the energy refund for shooting those guys, and you don't get the stacks, so you're not stronger. And
I am totally guilty of that.
Yeah, well, so am I, until I started really playing Nidus. I was like, oh, hey, Nidus rounds guys up, so I can help him mow all those down. I didn't realize that he depended on that, not only to build his stacks, but also to regen his energy, because when he uses his one, he gets a percentage of energy back for everybody he hits. So when he groups them all up, he guarantees himself, like, I think you only have to hit 5 guys to get 100% of the energy back.
Oh, nice! That's really cool.
So if you hit more than 5 guys, you get a bonus energy back. Because now you're getting 120% of your energy instead of just 100%. So if you get like 15 guys up and then you hit it, well, suddenly you're at max energy, baby. You're good. You're good to go.
That's really nice.
So yeah, so then I felt bad. I was like, after, like, I'm sitting there and I'm just like fuming at my computer. I believe this was last night. I took I took Harrow, and I'm just like, how many times have I screwed over Harrows and Pugs? Oh God. Oh
yeah,
God.
You have that.
Yeah, I stopped playing him. Like, I only ran him on like one mission last night. I was like, yeah, I guess I'm done.
Yeah, and I will say it is actually really cool, because, like, as listening to you as you say that, like, that it really benefits the whole party if you know how that frame works. Like, that is something that you see a lot in, like, MMO development. Like, just going back to my previous experience when I was playing Final Fantasy XIV, I was the main tank for a static, and I played Paladin, and then I played Warrior, and it was really good to know, like, not only, like, how do my DPS work? Like, where do they get their positionals best? How can I maneuver this to best serve them, because I know their skills. I know how their skills work. Or my healers, like I know that this heal skill only has this range, and I know this heal skill only has this range. So like knowing how the other players on your squad works, it actually really does benefit the whole game as a whole. And the fact that that is possible is absolutely amazing in this game. Like a free to play game that actually benefits from it. Like, wow.
Right. If to all those Mesa players out there, if you see a Harrow swinging around his Thurible, he's draining his energy so that he refunds energy when he kills stuff. So when he does that, don't turn on your peacemakers and empty the whole room. That's a bad idea.
Yeah, that's not nice.
Not only have I had that done to me, but I have been guilty of doing that to others. So there's just honest moment. All right, this is a safe space. Whatever you say during this session, that just it ends right there. It's good. You're good to go. But yeah, seriously, I don't do it.
Yeah. And I just, it's another one of those things that when I think about it, I'm like, holy crap, like that is so cool. Because I mean, I will say I am guilty. When I see something chained up, I shoot it, and I think it's fun. Now, at least last night I can say I saw him chaining stuff up, and I asked Jeremy when he was on Harrow, can I shoot these, or do you need to shoot them? And he said you can shoot them. So then I started mowing them down, and it was great. But
yeah, because at that time we were doing a hijack mission, so all I was doing was chaining up everything I could find, because he restores part of his shield when he chains stuff, and he can give himself an overshield. So I never even lost my overshield, so I didn't care if you shot all those guys, because I was just going to keep chaining everybody in the room up, because that kept my shields topped off, which is why we basically sprinted through a hijack mission. It was glorious.
It was really nice.
Between that and Trinity's energy vampire, it was beautiful.
Yeah, more reasons I've seen this week alone are reasons why I really need to get Trinity built, like get her finished to 30 and get her like an actual build going with her, because it is just ridiculous seeing some of the, like, being in a team with a Trinity is amazing. Like, yeah. Hands down amazing.
You're pretty close, right? You're in the 20s at least. You almost got there.
I think she's like 23 or 24, so I'm close. It's one of those things, like I was playing her and we were doing just some grinding missions like on Hydran or something to like level up, or Helene, and it was one of those things we just switched what we were doing and we were going back to Star Chart, or I needed something a little bit more powerful that was already leveled and had a build and a potato and all that stuff. But yeah. But speaking of, sorry, go ahead.
I'll just say I'll put my soapbox away. On our little outline, the bullet point labeled Harrow bitching is now over. But I finally got, thanks to you, got my hands on a Volt Prime, and I got him leveled up. And just having Volt is the frame I started with. So he was, until I got I believe it was Oberon and then Rhino, Volt was the only one I played. So, and I didn't really like him. He felt sort of mundane, sort of like middle of the road. Like he wasn't bad, but he wasn't like super great. And, I found Rhino a little more rewarding, and I found Oberon a little more interesting. And flash forward to now, where I have almost all the frames done, it's kind of nice going back to Volt. I appreciate his abilities a lot more.
Really?
So yeah, it's just a kind of cool little thing. Like, after being away from using him for so long, now I'm getting back in there and I'm like, oh, hey, his 3, that shield that ups crit damage when you shoot through it, like that's really cool. And his 4, where, it's like a big AoE bomb. One of the things that definitely helps is learning how to mod properly, because I used to never use the 3 and the 4 because I wanted to make sure I had enough energy for the 1 skill. And then I never used the 2 because it didn't last very long. So I was like, I don't know. Like, I realized when I was leveling up Volt, and I was actually using his Volt Prime, excuse me, and I was actually using his other skills. I was like, oh, hey, he actually has 4 skills, and they're kind of fun. So I don't know. It's really cool. So if you've been away from a frame for a really long time, get back into it with like your newer mods and your newer knowledge of the game, and give those old ones a shot, because they may surprise you, because I was surprised by Volt. I really was.
I actually was thinking about that when I found that Volt Prime for sale, it made me look at my frames a little bit, and I thought, maybe I should try Mag again. Like when we started, I took Mag, and I think she's still rank 20. I don't think I actually fully got her leveled. Like she's still not 30 or anything. Like I immediately, when I came back, I got Octavia and I started over, and it was awesome. So I might try to find a Mag Prime and give her another shot and see kind of what she's all about, because now I know more.
I'm gonna tell you to do it because I like Mag Prime. I had a lot of fun with her, so I would definitely say give her a shot.
Well,
Don't
that's good
believe
to
the
know.
hate. There's enough love for Mag Prime out there that you should embrace it. Give it a shot.
Yeah, I just might. There's so much stuff going on. Like, I don't know. There's so much stuff I want to work on, so I'm not sure. Because I know I don't have any Warframe slots right now, so I'd have to buy some more. So maybe I'll pick her up. I don't know. She's on my list. I'd like to have everything, so I know she's on there. I just might move her more up in my frame list versus the rest that I'm looking at. So there was a lot of information in this dev stream. Like, holy crap. I don't think, at least since I've been playing, I don't think I've seen a dev stream that had this much information, and yet also this little, because there were just a bunch of teases of stuff that they can't talk about yet, which was funny and infuriating at the same time. But I think out of everything that was said, the one thing that I personally, myself, am so excited for is the build your own obstacle courses, because holy crap, that is going to be so much fun.
You should have seen her face. They said the words, build your own obstacle course, and she lit up like it was Christmas.
I really did.
It was beautiful.
Oh, they look so nice. I really like that. I think it's so much fun. I think that there should be a way to submit imprints so you can buy more and you can set up multiple ones. I think it would be really cool if they did it some sort of like level system, so you could have you could say, today in the dojo I'm going to load obstacle course 3, and then tomorrow I'm going to load in obstacle course 1, and you could have like channels set up or something. It would just be so neat.
Ooh, that would be really cool.
I know, right? And I liked the idea that they alluded to possibly selling them as imprints and stuff like that. And including, and I know they mentioned a lot with the imprints in regards to dojos, because I know they also mentioned that about selling dojo designs. Like if you design a room and you want to sell it, you could imprint that room and then sell it like you do the Kavat imprints. So if they did that for the rooms and then they did that for the obstacle courses, like I'm pretty sure I would be broke constantly. And I would be asking Jeremy every other week to buy like $400 worth of plat, because I would be buying every single thing I could.
So can we just have like a super long hallway that says, like halfway through the hallway just randomly says, my wife left me, and then you go through this whole thing for like 45 minutes just for a giant sign to say F you at the end of it? Because
Yes.
that was a thing of trolley beauty, and by the end I genuinely wondered if it was gonna say, like, I was searching like as Megan and Rebecca were running through the hallway, I was waiting for things to be written on the wall that said like, never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down. I genuinely was waiting for it to be some kind of Rick roll, and then it turns out to be, F you, and she spins that camera away so fast. It was hilarious.
It was so great. That alone was great. And can I just say, when they were doing the dojo lighting and they were showing that, Clan of Zero, your dojo is sexy. Like,
it's so good.
that reminds me of back in like when WildStar just came out, because I got really addicted to WildStar housing, and that is the level of stuff that like we were doing in WildStar. And there were a couple people that played WildStar at the time that were doing stuff like that. Like, it was amazing, and I was so impressed. And those crabs and the dragon that was breathing fire, holy crap.
Oh, but the jumping fish, that was the highlight for me.
Really?
It was coming up out of the water, like in the koi pond area, because the crabs were great, and the robot was great, and the dragon was seriously impressive. But the koi fish had going for it that the room was also stylized around like the koi fish ponds, and had the little walkways, and they even like moved the fish so it was like almost free willy jumping over the walkway, so you could like stand there and like hold your hand up and like tickle the fish's belly, like when Free Willy jumps over the boy at the end of the movie.
Yeah, I don't know. It just, that whole thing, and now it's making me like rethink my dojo and say, all right, I need to up. You know, I had no idea that you could do stuff like that. Like I've messed around with the placing stuff, and I found it really hard to like try to control. But the fact that you can build stuff like that and that is possible, that just, my head is swimming with ideas now, because trying to figure out what I can do and like how I'm not going to copy your stuff, I promise. That is amazing, and if you put an imprint of that, I will be the first one in line to buy it, because that dragon is going to be in my clan dojo. Like, I want that dragon. It's so cool. But
I like how that sentence essentially translates to, I'm not gonna copy it, but if you let me, I will copy it.
Essentially, yeah. Well, I mean, if you were able to imprint it out, then I totally would spend all the plat to buy that, because, and then I would remove everything else except for the dragon, because the dragon is what I want, and I want the dragon to be like snaking through something. I just have like the dragon, or like blow it up in huge proportions and have the dragon snaking through different rooms, like going through the hallway and stuff. That would be cool. But yeah, it was an amazing job. It was absolutely just, I was in awe, and especially once I saw how the lighting rework is coming in, like that is absolutely amazing, and it's going to make it look so more individual, like once you do it. And then the build your own obstacle courses, like I can die and go to heaven. I have found my game of housing now, and that's, you won't see me anymore. Anytime I'm streaming, it's going to be dojo stuff as soon as this is available. And I just am shocked that the obstacle courses are coming out next week, like out of nowhere, at least for me.
Yeah, that's super exciting. Like, just, I don't know, like usually stuff like this isn't shown or teased or anything, and you know, or it is, but it's like way out, like, you know, oh, you guys are going to get this, like, you know, sometime in 2018 soon, TM. And then these people come along and they're just like, here's all this really cool stuff, enjoy it next week. And
Yeah,
it's just so cool.
Yeah, it's just out of nowhere. I love it. Speaking of stuff that's coming out next week, the particle update's coming, and I am both excited and nervous for this. Like, we'll see where I land once it comes out. So basically, they went to the particle room. If you haven't seen it, go check it out, because that is seriously the most fun room I've ever seen. And you see all this stuff, like all these effects coming out, like the capture effects, and it's all like really huge. And now they're going to have collision on objects and warframes, and they're going to be affected by gravities and flows and wind and just all of this stuff. And it is so sweet, and I'm so excited for it. But what I'm nervous about is they said that they fixed it a little bit, so it's going to not put a lot of strain, and it shouldn't have any frame rate drops. So instead of just going from the CPU to the graphics to the GPU, it's just going to be on, it's not going to have that exchange anymore. It's just going to be on the GPU. So we'll see how my computer handles it. I'm a little bit nervous about it, but I also have a newer graphics card than Jeremy does, so I'm also equally worried about his too.
I'm not too worried about it. They mentioned that it's going to be on the CPU side of things, so it should load faster. It should be less of a strain on everything. So, I don't know. I'm staying hopeful. I don't think they would release this if like half the people playing the game wouldn't be able to play it.
Yeah, that's understandable too. And I really like that he's like, there's going to be 4 modes: off, low, medium, and high. Oh, and there's ludicrous.
Yeah. And I love they called it ludicrous.
Yeah, that's really nice. Now, I did notice, and they kind of subtly nodded towards it, but I have no idea with the sacrifice particle spoiler that was there. Did you happen to catch that?
Yeah, it looked like a symbol of some kind, but I did not recognize it.
Yeah, I didn't recognize it. So if anybody knows what it is or has an idea or a theory, feel free to email us and let us know, because I would love to kind of hear everybody's thoughts on what that is, because I personally have no idea what it is. But it looked cool, and it looked cool flow in there, and you can kind of see like where the projection was coming from the object. So I don't know what it could be. I can't think of anything I've seen that looks like it. So I guess we'll just have to find out, maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
Yep.
And sadly, they didn't have any update on the sacrifice. The only update they were able to give us was that it's progressing really well, and there's no ship date. I will say that I absolutely love some of the responses here, of like what they said. the biggest thing that stuck out to me was Steve saying that they wanted to make sure that and this is quote, it is the quality that we, meaning us the players, deserve. So I really appreciate that I want Sacrifice to be out, don't get me wrong, but I really appreciate that they're taking the time to make sure that it is up to the standard of what they want to give us. They want to give us something really high and really high quality and very cinematic and stuff like that. At least that's what they're saying. And it just, I don't know, I love that. It makes me really happy that a company's willing to say, yeah, we don't know when this is coming out, but we're just trying to make sure that it's the best and what you guys really deserve. Versus, let me just get this done and ship it out, and then we'll bug fix it, and if you don't like it, sorry. Like a lot of games have done before.
Yeah, seriously amazing company here.
Yeah. Plus, I'm just super excited to see kind of like what it is about. Now, somebody on the stream told us that there is a quest that we haven't done yet. So there is one more to like the prologue before the sacrifice that we have to do. So I'm pretty sure we'll hit it once we get through a couple other missions we have left to do. So maybe I'll have a little bit more of an idea going into it. So I guess I am kind of glad that the sacrifice is pushed off a little bit so I can finish the quests leading up to it, because I didn't know there was any more. And I saw that.
We got a little catching up to do.
Yeah, that's what happens. And you come in and, you got a lot of stuff to do. So we know that, like I said, we know that the particle change is coming. We know that the obstacle courses are coming. And I think they said the dojo lighting is working, but I don't know if they actually said specifically if it's coming in next week or not. But we do know that there's also, with the UI, they showed some more of the UI, which I think is absolutely gorgeous. Although I will say, Steve did say something that I find very odd, that people like the old UI. Like, is that true? Because I don't like it.
I don't know. I know, like, he mentioned, like, he even brought a screenshot of what the UI looks like currently, and he mentioned that there are some people on, like, Twitter and stuff saying they like it, and I have to wonder if people really do like it, and I would totally empathize with these people, or if it's that they're afraid of change. Like, I'm used to this AI, I'm comfortable with it, it's not great, but it works, I know how to navigate it, and you guys are going to switch to a new UI and I'm going to accidentally sell all my primes, like, I can understand that line of thinking, like, the comfort zone thing. So I wonder if that's it. Obviously I can't speak for these people, but I do wonder if, like, maybe that's kind of where that pushback is coming from.
Yeah, I could see that.
I see it as a straight upgrade through and through. Nothing they've shown has given me any cause to think like the old UI is better. So
no, and I know at least next week we are getting the seamless transition for mouse and keyboard into controller support. That is coming before any of the UI. So if you are a PC user and you use a controller, but you also, type on your keyboard and stuff, it's going to be a lot more seamless for you guys to switch between that. Having that almost tempts me to try to plug in a controller and see if I can play it. Just, I don't know, it might be nice to kick back, lean my chair back, put my feet up on my desk, and have a controller in hand and just kind of screw around.
I'll give it a try for sure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a bad time. I'm definitely not gonna do that on a spy mission. I can tell you that for sure.
Oh heck yeah! Or on a somebody's obstacle course. I would suck, as we saw. Yeah, but I will give it a shot when that comes out.
Absolutely. Yeah,
but as they did show some more information from the UI, and a lot of this you can find on Steve Sinclair's Twitter. That's where most of it was coming from. A lot of the pictures he was asking for, like, which font do you like better? Which Futura font? That is the best font in the world. It is my favorite. It's what I use for our logo, so it's one of my favorite fonts ever. So they were doing that. The biggest changes, what they were talking about is that it's going to be vertical scrolling versus side scrolling. They did confirm that we're not going to be able to pick custom colors. I can understand that because I know they did bring up with UIs, they want to make sure that you see the text on the right color and stuff like that. So, if you picked a black background and you couldn't change the text color and the text was black, you couldn't see it. Or if you picked a white background and the text is black, they want to make sure that you can see that. Plus, there are so many color palettes in this game. Like, I would be changing my UI every 30 minutes because I can't pick a color combination that I like. That's why I always change my fashion frame.
You think my fashion frame waste of time is bad now. You just wait till I can also change my HUD set too.
Oh god, it would take hours. Our stream would literally be
Mm,
us doing fashion frame and UI settings, and then we're like, all right, the stream's over, guys, and then we'd play for another hour, and that's it. Like literally,
too
that's all
bad.
we would do.
Too bad we don't have time for a mission. Thanks for watching.
Exactly. But they said you won't be able to do it. Instead, they're doing themes, and they showed a lot of the themes, and holy crap. Some of those themes are
Mhm.
really cool. The Grenier one, the green one looks really neat. I really liked the one that kind of looked like the Nidus pustules, like the disease one. It was really white. Then they had the Tenno one, which was really simple and gorgeous. Like, oh, they just look pretty. I'm so excited for it.
Yeah. Now he did when he said that they were gonna do um these pre-selected like
The
groups of
themes.
colors and yeah, the themes, thank you, instead of letting you pick the colors, he didn't really give a finite like you will never be able to do this. It definitely sounded like it sounded like it's not something that they're going to be looking into in the near future, but it also didn't sound like they were just burning that bridge and saying, no, that's not an option. So that could be something that comes around later, like at a much later date. That's, it might be something that while it's not on the table, it at least might be in the same room as the table.
Yeah, it might be on like the side table or like the little like hallway
Yeah.
table with the little vase on it with the flower and the
Yeah,
picture behind it
it's
for the
like that's where
ambiance.
you throw your keys. Yeah, it's where you throw
Yeah.
your keys when you walk in. You're like, oh, yeah, there it is. It's right there. And
Yeah, so
maybe. So,
yeah.
and they didn't say maybe. I'm just sort of inferring here that because there were other things where they just came right out and they said no. They're not that company that just always says, well, maybe, but maybe not. Like they definitely do seem to at at certain points they do give definite no's, and they didn't here. He just said that that's not something that they're going to do now. So it
Yeah.
could be, it could be something that might be happening. But to sort of, I guess, circle back around since I'm tangenting again, I do like the themes, and the Nidus one, the fleshy color with the pinks, that was probably my favorite one.
Yeah, that one was gorgeous. I like very
Yeah.
minimalistic style, so those were really nice for me. One of the things he did show, he showed another picture from his Twitter, and I did see this on Twitter and I fell in love with it as soon as I saw it. But it was the kind of the example of the inventory, like the cell screen and stuff like that. And on it showed that he was on his warframes. And what I loved was when he was hovering over one of the warframes, it actually listed the abilities out. And that alone is worth it. Like the fact that I can go to my warframes and I don't have to click on it, click equip, and then or go to the codex and look at their abilities. I can just go to my inventory, hover over it, and I can see what all of them do, at least
Yeah.
baseline. Like that's wonderful, especially if it's a frame I haven't played in a while or it's one that got updates and I want to read what happened. Just wow. So overall, like the UI changes seem like they're going to be really good. I'm sad that it's not launching with next week's patch. I know that at least we're getting the controller support and that seamless stuff. I wish that we were getting the UI like sooner, but I do know that several times during the dev stream they were saying, like so much of the team is working on a secret project and so much of the team is working on a secret project and so much is working on sacrifice. So if the UI has to be on the back burner for a little bit, to make everything else pop, I'm okay with that. I'd rather them take the time and make the UI great and make sure that everything's working and all of the pictures and all of the thumbnails are loading in right before it goes in. If, the level of detail that they've showed before, it's going to be there. It just might take a little bit of time and I can try to be patient. Maybe. We'll see.
So another fun little thing, they kind of just brought it up in passing. I think they were transitioning between two big topics, and they took a question from the stack of papers that Rebecca had brought, and it was just a nice little thing. Tenogen created operator uniforms could be a thing. That's something that they are actually, possibly considering. They said that there was some other work that needed to be done as far as like the models go, but that could be something that we might see in the future, and that actually is really exciting because the Tenogen community is insane. You guys are so talented, and it would be
Yeah.
really cool to be able to uh, show off in your operator mode too, because I like the operator skins, but they're not. exciting, and I think the TennoGen created ones, like people would make exciting stuff. So your operators, like they looked really good because I am guilty of I just picked a dark theme. Like it's like black on dark gold with dark purple energy, and that was it. You know, I didn't do much else as far as the coloring because it's like a jumpsuit uniform, and we did get the Zephyr Prime access, so I got this great big gold chain on my back, and it's kind of cool. But I just seeing some of the TennoGen, like Mag, I'll say is one of the more plain frames, and some of the TennoGen skins they just really make her pop. So it'd be really exciting to see like what would you do with operator skins.
Yeah, and I know that they were talking about one of the reasons why it's going to be a while is because the template's a bit more complicated for it. And I was thinking after I saw that, like, what could have that meant? Because people make Warframe skins, but then I realized that when it comes to a Warframe skin, you literally just have the skin and the helmet. And with the operator, every little piece is separate. So that would take a lot more design and coding and everything wise to make sure that all of those fit together. Because essentially what it could happen, and I think this is really neat, is the mix matching. So if there's a really cool TennoGen operator skin that comes out, and I really like the arm gloves of it and the helmet, I could pair that with another piece. So you really would get a lot of more customization in it, and that would be really cool. But I can see why they're looking into it, why that leads to it being more complicated to get in and get that program into the TennoGen program. For sure.
Definitely. I think another thing going right along with that is the helmet, because you have two forms for the helmet. When you don't have the helmet visible, it's not just removed, it's like unzipped and splayed out across your shoulders, like almost like a hoodie would be. So I definitely think like there's a bunch of moving parts, like you said. It would be so cool to be able to mix and match, though. That would be seriously amazing.
Yeah, and speaking of the skins, we did get a huge update and a huge photo that came out. They told us that the Vauban skin is still in progress. They're working on it, but the Neza Deluxe skin is actually stalled right now. They're not working on it. But they did show us Nidus, and holy crap, this is sexy.
Oh my god. It's so cool.
It is really cool. For anybody that played Guild Wars 2, we had a really nice talk about this after we saw it. It reminds us of the Ara, the last dungeon, the level 80 dungeon that was in the game. It reminds us of the Ara armor with the arms on it and stuff like that, except for they're not fondling your boobs. They're across the neck. But wow, these skins are gorgeous.
Yeah. And they did two pictures that this person designed. There's the base one and then the fully armored one. But they also had a second picture that shows it's not like a perfect example of how the armor is going to come together. Like it's not like a step by step, here's how it's going to grow. But it does sort of imply like the giant pieces of this golden armor that the suit is going to grow. They're going to come in stages, so it'll almost be like you're armoring up as you go instead of they all just are going to appear on you magically. So I'm really excited to see it in stages like that, but I'm more excited to see, like, are they going to do it like Iron Man 3 style, where you're going to be running through and you're going to do the Nidus stomp, and then like the helmet is just going to come flying out of nowhere and land on your face, and
that would
or
be
is
hilarious.
it going to like organically, like, is it going to grow, or if you hide your weapons when they're stored and you go to switch weapons, it materializes on your back before you grab it. Is it going to look something like that, where it like almost like 3D printing with lasers real quick across his body? Like, there's so many possibilities here. I cannot wait to see which ones they go with. I will be buying skin the moment it comes out. Ignore all my bitching about Nidus from 15 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago, whatever. I will own this and I will love it.
Yeah, and I know they mentioned, like I said, or like Jeremy said, they showed you the base and they showed you the fully armored, and they did say that there are 2 forms for in between. So essentially this deluxe skin is 4 separate skins that they're having to do, plus the animations for everything adding in. And wow, the level of detail on this, like the second image that shows how it would stack on, there is so many little pieces and little details and little pieces that they're adding in. Like, this thing is going to be amazing. And part of me thinks of it, look like a transformer or something like
But I
that.
have to say, one of the things I like the most about this is, and don't get me wrong, I think Nidus is, in a very disturbing way, he's a gorgeous friend. I love how he looks. But the difference between Nidus running around on your ship and Nidus after half an hour in a survival mission is day and night. You know, when his armor, when the husks open up and the little tendrils that glow, you know, start poking out and his helmet opens up, he looks so great. But
Oh,
he's
yeah.
really plain. He's really plain when he's just walking around on your ship. And the base body in this deluxe skin, it, like, I would be happy if that's all it was. You know, like if the armor didn't appear on him, like, and I understand this is just art. They've still got to render it. It's obviously going to change as it goes through the process. But just that alone, that skin is beautiful in its own way, and I really like it. So walking around on my ship as Nidus, I'm not going to be like, wow, this is really cool. I wish, because I do think this, I wish when you're on your ship you could, and you're in your like inventory window, you can toggle his armor plates open. You should be able to do that on your ship, just because like that's the Nidus that I want to see, because that's what I did all my fashion framing for Nidus around when the carapace opens up, and you can't see that on your ship. So this is cool because the base body is so pretty, and it just, I don't know. I don't know. I'm fangirling at this point, but
You really are.
I really like this skin.
Yeah, looking at the base one, I'm really interested to see how those die slots line up, because I know there's only so many die slots that are out there. So I'm really intrigued to see like what color is tied to which spot, like primary, secondary stuff. Like, are the arms your energy color? You know, like how
Um,
is that all gonna line up once we get it into the game?
You can kind of infer that because if you look at right under his name, which I believe, I can't really read the font. I think it's Liger in Zuka.
That's what it looks like.
But
Yeah.
right under that, there's five little boxes with the colors. So I'm thinking that that really light blue on his legs, those arms, and his eyes, and the eyes on his shoulder, I think that's the energy. And then the yellow, of course, is the armor. The darker blue, you can see that show up on his hands, a little bit on his leg, and the sides of his face. And then, of course, the black and the white are pretty apparent what's what. So
Yeah.
I think you can kind of guess that, you know, from left to right, that's the base, secondary, tertiary, accent, and then energy color. I think that's how I'm taking it anyway, which means the arms across his chest, based on that image, might actually glow with his energy color, which would be insane.
That would be really cool. I can only imagine the amount of like customization that people are going to do when they go to fashion frame this. Like, wow,
Mhm.
that's going to be
So
amazing.
when it comes out, send us your Nidus fashion frames, because I want to see how everybody does this. Like, I don't know if any of you even play Nidus, but if you do and you get this skin, you think this skin's worth picking up, send us your fashion frame for it, because I want to see it, because this is beautiful to me.
Yeah. Now, they did also tease something else that apparently they've been talking about for a while, but there's been no like timeline as to when it comes out, and that's the two-handed katana.
Oh,
And
yes.
for one, they showed it on like they actually showed it, and it was, you know, it didn't have its full animations in. It was using something else, but you got to see it, and it looked really gorgeous, like watching her hold it and stuff like that. But I think the most interesting thing about that, and I hope some of you caught it, and if you didn't, this is going to be a lot of interesting like tidbits, is the reason why it's not out yet and it's just coming, but there's no timeline, is it is actually getting paired with the next frame that is getting released. And I have no idea what that means, but it just comes up with so many cool things in my head. So, what type of frame are they releasing that's going to have a two-handed katana for its melee weapon?
And not only that, but they said that it was themed after it, and it kind of looked to have this like ghostly blue color and these weird like it definitely looked sort of Orican in structure, like the way the back of the blade sort of, it had those loops. Like I can only like acquaint it to the arches on Lua, or the rings on Volt's shoulders, or like the ring on the back of Trinity's head. Trinity Prime has that like
Yeah.
hula hoop on the back of her head. It looked very much to be in like that same thing, with this like blue smoky energy fire coming up off the blade. It was so cool, and it definitely didn't look like any of the existing frames to me. So I don't know what I don't know what to infer from that. It's just other than excitement.
Yeah, and I mean, knowing the history of a katana, that it is, a Japanese weapon primarily, like that's where most of it, a lot of its history is around, and seeing that kind of ghostly smoke coming off of it has me really interested if they're going to try to do something like spirity. Like I know there's a lot in Japanese lore, and I'm not, an expert or anything, but I have listened to a lot of the myths and legends that come out of that area, and I know a lot of their stuff is focused around vengeful spirits. So take that with what you will, but I think it would be really cool to see some sort of like spirit thing that deals with maybe like a spirit form, or grabbing the spirits out of the Grineer and the Corpus that you're fighting and like command them. So almost like a pet class, but instead of literally raising the dead like Necros does, instead it takes the spirit out of them. Or like knock their spirit out so you can like kill their body so they freeze, and like some CC control. I don't know. I'm just speculating here. That's just what I think would be really neat.
That would be cool. That
Yeah.
I think there could be room for that somewhere in between Nyx and Necros.
Yeah, it's just something that they haven't touched before.
Hmm.
So I think what's kind of taken over, and I've looked at the Reddit mostly recently in the past couple of days since the dev stream, but what I think a lot of people have really latched onto that came from the dev stream 111 was the Melee 2.0 that's going to be coming out. Now, we don't have a release date. We don't know when it's going to be coming out. They just wanted to let us know that they are working on it, and they gave us a lot of information about what this is actually changing. And I think the biggest thing is that they are removing the melee through walls. So you can still spin attack, but you can no longer go through walls, which basically rips the Atarax build that everybody's running.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Now, I'm not that heartfelt about it. I don't have an Atarax. I've never had the Atarax. I don't really know anything about the Atarax build because I love the dark split sword. That is my love right now. That is my favorite melee weapon that I've built and taken care of. But I don't know. I think going through walls is kind of cheeky. And I mean, yeah, they knew it was there, but it's not working as intended. And maybe it just took long enough for them to do it.
I don't blame the Atarax for this. I had the Atarax. I thought it was fun. It wasn't great. I thought it was fun. I think Maiming Strike is actually the bigger issue here, because the Atarax is going to survive, because the Atarax is just a whip. The thing was with ranged mods and with Maiming Strike, as the Reddit calls it, you could get to the point where you just helicoptered through maps and up against walls, and you could wreck the room ahead of you before you even got in the room in some cases. And I know they went through. I saw mention. I think they mentioned this on the dev stream, is that Warframe powers used to do this, and
Mm-hmm.
and they did actually go through and change a bunch of the powers to where you needed the line of sight, or you couldn't just burn right through the walls in most cases. I know some, like Banshee, can still clear whole maps, and
Mag
Nova,
can
when
still
she
pull
speeds
stuff.
or slows, yeah, that stuff still works, but not like every skill goes through walls. So I think there does need to be a line, and I think meleeing through walls, that's like when Doomfist first came out, he could punch you through a car on Numbani, and that was cheeky, and nobody liked that.
Do
And I think that
not remind me of that. I cannot tell you how much I screamed and almost threw my monitor when Doomfist came out in Overwatch, because being a
oh,
support main, but they fixed it. He can't,
yeah,
they moved that his his impact and like his AoE of where he has to aim. They shrunk it down, made him a little bit more skillful. They worked on interacting with the environment. And with a game that like Warframe that actually does have physics, you know, and it does have, I mean, it has the ragdoll physics, which is always fun, but you know, you can latch to walls, you can bump into stuff, and I can tell you how many times I've bullet jumped into a ceiling and got stuck on a one piece of wire, and it's annoying. But when they have that, they have to understand that they're trying to give that stuff to have weight, and being able to spin through a wall negates that. It negates all of the work that they put into to build such interesting tile sets. Because if you just stop and look, the tile sets are gorgeous, and the fact that I can spin through the wall and kill everything and not have to worry about it, I don't know, it kind of sucks the fun out for me a little bit.
I would agree with that. And, you know, like, I think it would be cool if they built a gun that could fire through walls, like a rail gun, you know, and it was really slow to fire, but, you know, it could shoot through a wall. I played a game years ago, like PlayStation 1 era, called Siphon Filter, and you had a gun, and the scope on the gun was thermal imaging. And so it did go through walls, and the railgun itself would shoot guys through walls. And I think that could be like a really cool idea for a sniper rifle. Like maybe it drains your energy while you're using the scope, but you could use the scope to shoot through walls, and you know, that could be kind of fun. Like there's some play with that. But to just arbitrarily like, hey, this whip, it can hit things through walls. That's not fun. I don't think
Yeah.
that's fun.
Yeah, the other big thing that they talked about was channeling, which up until about a week ago, I didn't even really know what melee channeling was, honestly. I didn't know that you could do that. I knew you could do it with a block, but I didn't know it actually had any other benefits. And I've never melee channeled before in my entire life. I like clicked it once and I was like, ooh, that's a cool effect, and then I never did it again. But that is actually pretty much going away. And what they're doing is they're moving it to the block. So channeling and block are now going to be kind of the same thing. What they're doing is they're keeping the stuff they like from channeling, which was the 100% block and possibly the particle effects. They don't know if they're going to keep that or not. And they're moving that over to block. So when you block, it will actually block 100% and work like, essentially how they described it is it's going to work like channeling. And it's only going to be for that block. And what that does is that actually frees up a button for the combos. So they can actually rework the entire combo attack, the combo system now, and add in heavy attacks and things like that, which when they showed the video of it in practice so far, at least like the heavy attacks and going through the different combos, it looks amazing and so much fun. It reminded me of Witcher 3 or Dark Souls even a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I I had initially, when you and I first talked about it, compared it to Dark Souls. But the more I've thought about it, I think it's a lot more like Darksiders or Darksiders 2, where you have a light and a heavy attack, and the combos are all built around hitting both of them in certain sequences, which is going to be so much more fluid. And a lot of people who, like myself, who aren't really utilizing the combos now, I'm just smashing E when I attack. Um, and if I do a combo, I do a combo. If I don't, oh well, I didn't. But now with the heavy attack being a second button press, and you can rotate through like light, heavy, it's going to be more like Street Fighter or Darksiders 2. And the combos, like I said, they'll be more intuitive, which means people will start using them more. And maybe with just such a simple change as adding a second button press into your melee attacks, well, it might sound like that's going to slow you down because now you need to relearn the combos. I think ultimately it's going to be much more enjoyable to run through. Like I think all melee sorties or that random mission that I run sometimes on Valkyr by myself with nothing but melee attacks, I think they're just going to be a lot more like rewarding because the combat is going to feel better.
Yeah, and I did know they did say that when it came to the combos and having that extra button press, they're really focusing on trying to balance the amount of tax between those for those stance mods and for those combos. Because I mean, I've even seen it when I've been switching between mods. Some mods will have like some of my stance mods will have like 4 combos, and some of them will have 6. So really, by taking out the channeling and moving that to a heavy attack, they're trying to kind of balance the attacks and make the key bindings more similar. So basically, if I have this sword with a stance attack and I go through all my combos and then I switch over and I decide I want to do dual swords or something, or switch to like a whip or switch to the glaive, those combos, because it's a little bit more balanced now, they're trying to make the melee combos a little bit almost the same. Like the button presses are the same. You just need to look at your combos and see, oh, when I press these buttons, it does this status effect, versus on my sword, when I push the same buttons, it does something different. So you're not relearning your key hits every single time. You're not trying to figure that out. You're not trying to figure out how many combos you go through. You'll have that memory of hitting those combos. It's just learning, all right, so if I want to do my stun, I need to do this one first versus on the other weapon. So I think it's going to bring a lot more variety and more reason to switch out your stance mods, because based on what effects you're trying to get and what effect are you getting from this combo, and is it something that you want in this mission, or do you want to equip a different stance and try something else?
And I think you mentioned the glaive. The other thing I think is really cool is currently, if you have a one-handed sidearm and the glaive equipped at the same time, like I have the Thicc-est Prime because I bought the Ember Prime when she was unvaulted. When you have the pistol and the glaive out, you actually have them out at the same time, so you benefit. I think you still use just quick melee. I don't think it used the stance, but you had access to both weapons, so you could throw the glaive while you shot with the Thicc-est, and it was really cool. Well, they're actually bringing that in line with the other one-handed weapons, so you'll be able to do like sword pistol combo or sword comma kami comma it's comma the little scythe looking thing, but it's
Yeah.
one-handed. um they're going to bring those things and daggers too, like dagger pistol, and put the silence mod on the pistol, and then I'm going to run that on Ash with covert lethality, and just going to stealth kill everything in the room with a dagger and a pistol, and that's going to be a lot of fun. So it's cool that they're bringing in the more like dual wield aspects to the other weapons. So it all good,
Yeah.
all good.
Yeah. It seems like they really are taking a lot of good steps into this. And I know that, like, with all of these like other changes that are happening, a lot of people have brought up, that's going to make them feel more weak, because right now that combo, like your combo meter, is actually supplemented in with your basic attacks. So instead, what they're moving away from that is it's like heavy attacks, that light heavy rotation on like how you're going in and out. That's what's actually going to build up that meter, and that those heavy attacks will use that combo meter and stuff like that. Like finishing moves is how I kind of thought about it in my head. But to compensate for that, what they've said, even though you're not going to have, there might be that damage loss, they're actually going to bump all of the damage numbers up. So all of your melee weapons are going to be doing more damage base to kind
Right.
of facilitate that. So I think it's a really good give and take balance there.
Yeah, and I think that had to do with taking channeling off of the attacks too. Between that and the combo meter changes, they're going to bump up the overall damage, and that's just a solid change right there. Especially as someone like yourself and like me who forget to channel all the
Yeah.
time. So now I'm just going to feel stronger. Like I know there are some people who channel all the time and they were really good about that and learning the combos. They might feel a little weaker, a little stronger. They might feel like right in the middle, like nothing changed. I am gonna feel like a murder kitten next time I play after this change goes in, because I'm not doing the stuff that they're changing. So and I know that changes like my opinion on this, since I'm not like a veteran that's been doing things this way since Melee 2.0 was announced, or since it was implemented. But I don't know. I can't wait for Melee to feel more powerful than it does now. I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah. And one of the other big changes that they said with this, and there's a couple that I really like, is that you are going to be able to dodge roll out to cancel your melee strikes, which that's really great. There's that little bit of like an animation cancel so you can get out of there, especially if you're getting ready to do a charged attack or something and the Nox starts charging at you, which I've had that happen before. I'm about to do something and suddenly I see an angry Nox that's literally like, ugh, and he starts running towards me. You can actually dodge and get out of there. You're not stuck. And the other one,
And I wonder if
sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I wonder if
You're
that
fine.
includes one of my biggest complaints with the fans, the war fans, because they did great damage and they were actually fun to utilize. But like halfway through some of the combos, you stop and fan yourself like you're, showing off a little bit. And
I
there
didn't
was
know
so
that.
much there's so much weird like animation lock with the way you fight with them. So being able to dodge roll out of that would definitely make me revisit those weapons, because I really liked the damage they did. I loved using them. It just felt so clunky because there's all this additional animation. I felt animation like a thing would die and then I'd keep like doing this little attack dance for like another second or so. Like I hit the button too many times in like Dark Souls. You know, you hit the button, you're spamming heavy attack because you just need something to die immediately, and then it dies and then you keep swinging your sword for like 2 seconds. Like that's that's how they felt. So it'll be really nice to be able to dodge roll out of him. I will definitely revisit these weapons when that goes in.
Yeah, it's going to make me think twice before selling a lot of my melee weapons because I do have a lot that
Yeah.
are just kind of taking up weapon slots right now. But I'm going to hold on to them because I kind of really want to see what happens with this change. And speaking with the animation stuff, they're getting rid of the false swing with charged attacks. I've had that happen a couple times to me when I'm trying to show off combos and suddenly I go into a charged attack and it does this weird false swing thing. I see it a lot with the dual split swords, like when I'm trying to go through and I'm trying to pay attention, and that is going away, which is really nice. At least for me, it was a little bit of a pet peeve as I was doing that, and I could tell by the way they were talking that was a pet peeve for a lot of people too, that weird, awkward swing thing. But I think,
for sure.
yeah, but the other thing that they mentioned that I'm super excited to see, because I think it'll make melee a lot more interesting, is the directional melee slams. Now, I love melee slams, like especially when I'm bullet jumping. If I'm bullet jumping and I'm like, I know I have to drop down quickly and there's a dude right there, I will melee slam the ground out of it. But the fact that I can like direct that now is going to make things like, I don't know, it's going to make it a lot more fun. And I think it'll be a lot of fun, especially to something like Zephyr, who can fly up, or anybody that gets a lot of air, anybody using the Trinity jump launch pad that can get that air up, and then they can kind of like, slow fall, take a look, and then they're not locked into whatever direction they were facing. They can turn around and slam back down to the ground. So that's going to be a lot of fun to mess with.
Yeah, I agree. Plus, and they showed a couple quick videos of this, and you can find them on the dev workshop for the melee changes. They show the slam. I think they're out in the plains of Eidolon, and they show these directional slams, and it just looks so. They even get all like weird and shy and say that the animations aren't finished. But watching that Inaros hit the ground like that, oh man, that got me charged. I was like, I want this directional ground slam in the game now.
I know,
It
he was
just
like a diving spear, like a
it
honing
was so
spear.
good. Yes, it was so good. So yeah, I have nothing but good things to say about this melee change. So I'm sorry if like there are vets out there that are like, oh, this guy's an idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But I can't be mad about this. It's good. It's positive changes.
Yeah, and the other big change, and I know this is like why everybody's also saying the rip for the Atarax and the whip spin to win builds, is they are reducing the reach mods. They're kind of changing how those range mods work by reducing it, but as like a compensation, they are increasing the base range of all the melees. So as they go through and do this, we know that there's a lot of mods that deal with reach and melee, like how far out you can go. And not only that, I know that there's a lot of Riven in mods too that touch the channeling, and that is stuff that they're going to rework. So they're not getting rid of range mods, they're just reducing it a little bit, but they are giving you more melee range to start out with. So you will be able to, have a little bit more range without having to sink into those range mods, which it's a nice change. I think it's a really good like balance there. So we're going to take a quick little break here, go to a little music interlude, and when we come back, we're going to look at Korra and kind of the new changes that are coming and our thoughts on that. And we're also going to take a look at the new Saryn rework that Pablo talked about on one of their prime times for the PS4. So hang tight, and we will be right back. Alrighty, and we're back. And we're going to talk a little bit about Korra. Now, I know that there were a lot of changes that happened. There's actually been a lot of changes that happened with the last couple weeks. Balancing her, reworking her, making everything. So this week we kind of made a point to go back after some of the new changes hit and really kind of take a look at her again and play her on a couple different mission types and see what we really thought about her. And I can say for pretty much certain, I like her. I think she's interesting. I think her abilities are really cool. I like the sound effects of them. Like the whip. The whip sound is just one of my favorites ever. But will I be playing her a lot? I don't know. It's kind of like I'm in a weird spot with her. I don't know where she fits in everything.
I think I would agree with that. To the point of the sound effects and the look of her skills too, the barbed wire theme that she has going on. I really dig it. I think she's great. Um, and I played her most recently. We did a excavation void rift. We were doing some relics last night right at the start of our stream, and I took Cora. Um, and I didn't regret taking her at all. She did everything. She did what I needed her to do. I still have this problem, and I don't really know like how I would fix it. I think maybe I'm just not fighting strong enough enemies, but Strangledome kills everything it touches still. I can't seem to get the CC, and it's just like a nuke. Like, just as stuff was switching, getting corrupted by the void or whatever during the relic mission, I'd run up and I'd pop Strangledome and it'd pull everyone to the ground, but they'd all die. Like, I didn't really see a lot of that. So, and I know that where we were wasn't super high level content, but outside of that, like, I like Venari. I like being a crazy cat lady. I took a second Kavat with me, so I had Venari and I had mine Kavelta, both there. So it was cool. Like, it's just cool to be a pet class in a game for once, because I am not a fan of pet class, just as a general rule.
Yeah.
But all that said, like you just mentioned, I don't know if she edges out anybody. I know we spoke last week about, I am definitely the player that has a couple of frames that I'm going to take for 90% of my missions. She does not make that top 4 or 5 roster for me. I don't think I'd regret taking her anywhere, but I don't know if she makes it. Like, I don't know if she dethrones anybody.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with her. I mean, her one ability is awesome. I think it's really fun, and I like that it kind of has a little explosion at the end of it when the whip cracks, and that's really neat. And it can do a lot of damage, and the snare is really nice. I like that you can use her one ability on the 2 ability to kind of cause it to proc more and pull more people in, and that CC is really helpful. I can kind of see where it can get in the way, especially if there's a lot of geometry going on. I know that there's been some weird bugs going on where there's like line of sight stuff with it. And I know that they have mentioned that they're going to fix it. I really like Venari. I like that concept. I like the idea that you can cycle between the attack, the protect, and the heal, and you literally just put your targeting reticle over somebody and command her to do it. So, like, if you were carrying somebody and they need a little bit extra healing, or you're trying to defend somebody, you can have it protect them. And it's just, I really like that. I think it brings a really different type of gameplay to the game. Something that we haven't really seen before. At least I haven't seen before, something like that.
And one cool thing, speaking of Venari specifically, they do mention in the dev stream from this past week, is they are giving Venari the ability to teleport. So when you command Venari to attack a target or heal a target, Venari, instead of needing to traverse the map to get to where they were going, now you can just point and click, and Venari will teleport to that target. So you're instantly getting the results of that button input. So I think that is going to improve it's just going to improve the flow of gameplay with Cora, I think.
Yeah, especially if you know that enemy's across a little gap, or if you're trying to get her to heal somebody and that person just bullet jumped up on top of a tower. Like, Venari can't climb. She can't, like, kitty claw and, like, her way up it. So the teleport is going to make it a lot better. And I know, like I said before with the ensnare, I know they're fixing some line of sight bugs. They have it coming from a certain line of sight, and they're going to be adjusting that. They're looking like they said they might use power line of sight versus the regular line of sight they're doing. So that will be really nice. I think one of the other things I talked about in this past dev stream, and I'm really excited because I never, like, when it came to modding her, I was having a lot of hard time settling on something that felt good. Because, like, the weird range interactions with the whip claw and stuff like that, and the strangle dome, like, I didn't know where that ability range, like, what that really affected. If it affected, like, how far the whip claw went or the AoE. So it is actually saying that the whip claw will actually use range mods, not just for the length of how far out it goes when you throw it, but also for the like the blast at the end of it. And it's not going to go too
Oh,
big. It's only going to go 2 times the base size, but it is actually going to affect that little crack, which is awesome.
so yeah, I think I didn't know that they were upping the range for like the blast. I think that's going to help. I never really have a problem getting her whip to go where I need it to go, but if I can make the AoE from that crack a little bit bigger, like that's definitely going to help, I think.
Yeah, I definitely think that's going to help, at least for getting it a little bit, and maybe just getting a little bit more consistent with it, because I know sometimes I've like tried to shoot it at somebody and it might hit the person behind the one I'm trying to hit. So if that AoE can retroactively come back and hit the one that I might have tried to be hitting in the first place, it makes it seem less like I screwed up and more of like I was planning ahead. You know, maybe I was a little bit better. Now I haven't formed her or anything. I don't have primed mods yet. There's still I don't really have a lot of ribbons. I only have like one or two. So I know that there's a lot of stuff that like I probably could build a good build with her if I took the time and got the mods and stuff like that. But as I'm standing right now, I don't know if she's worth putting Forma into for me. I know Forma's kind of like a hot commodity of sorts, you know, because they take 24 hours to build. You can buy them with plat, but that gets really expensive really fast, and it's like a plat slink. So I'm at this point right now where really I'm taking a look at all the frames that I have, and I'm asking myself after I play them a little bit, like, would I put Forma on this? And I feel like that's a really good judge to, you know, if we were going to have Forma. Like, is it worth going through this whole effort of leveling this frame up, you know, 5, 6, 7 times to get it Forma the way I'd like it to? And as of right now, I don't think Cora's gonna make the cut. I'm not gonna sell her. I'll keep her. I think she's really fun. I'll pull her out once in a while for like fun challenge runs, or if I'm just feeling like, you know, having a cute little cat with me that heals me. But yeah, I think that's where I land on her after a couple weeks of play at this point.
I think I think I am a little bit more positive on her. Um, I I would definitely put a forma or two, you know, whatever forma I needed once I have the better mods that she's gonna need. Um, but the question is more of a when, because I'm working on Mesa. I'm pretty sure until I start getting some of the primed mods that Mesa's build is done. So I ended up with 4 forma in Mesa, and 3 at the moment in the Tigris Prime. I think next is going to be either Saryn or Valkyr, and then Saryn or Valkyr will be third, whoever doesn't get the first one. After that, like I think Cora, I think that's where she starts to become a potential. I think Cora, possibly Inaros, Nidus, Banshee, and Zephyr, and maybe even Equinox. They all start to come into play about there. So, um, yeah, I think she does for in my roster. I think, you know, I definitely think Cora gets one before Chroma, Wukong, Nova, Titania. You know, I think she beats out all of them for sure. I do see myself choosing her. It's just a matter of when. Because I think sort of recanting my story from last year or last
Last
podcast
year.
last year. Yeah, yeah, we've been doing this for so long, guys.
Oh, so
But I
old.
do think I do think that once I have Forma into more of my frames, I do actually think I will settle into having a few frames for each role as opposed to a few frames that I do everything with. Um, But I
Yeah.
think that comes with time. I think I need to put forma and I need to have finalized builds and I need to get more comfortable with how they play before I'll get there. So I think as I transition into that, I do actually think Cora has a place in my lineup. I do see myself running her quite a bit eventually.
Yeah, I think she's great. I like the design choices. I can see where they're kind of trying to design new styles of frames because there's so many out. You kind of do have to break that mold a little bit. And like what else can you add that's not something? And I know a lot of people
Mhm.
said that she does a lot of stuff that already exists, but she does it worse. Like the bubbles. Other people do the bubbles better. Healing. Other people heal better. CC. Other people CC better. But I think if you really get a good build and you really learn her, she will be really good. I just think for me, I'm not going to put in that time. Not yet. I have other frames that I'm just more gung ho about than her. I think is the best way to put it. But she is really cool. I'm excited to see where she finally lands on once we get through all these changes and stuff like that. And then, if the Pet UI 2.0 comes out, I know they've alluded to it, but they haven't really said much about it. So I'd be really, interested to see what happens to her in the future. And I think she was awesome. I think she's a great addition. She looks awesome. Her sound effects are awesome. I know they're even going to give her more visual and more sound effects to kind of differentiate some of her skills, which is going to be awesome and kind of make Venari's teleporting pop. And I really love those attentions to detail. Like it's great. But I'm really excited to run with her though. Like if someone else is playing her really well at the higher level content, I will enjoy every single second of having her in the party. But it's probably not going to be me. Is all I'm
And,
saying on
and
that.
and I do have to say, like, sort of backtracking just a little bit here. Um, you mentioned like there are better damage frames, there are better CC frames, and there are better healing frames than what she's bringing to the table. But I do think there's something to be said for jack of all trade frames. Like, I think and there are plenty. Neza is one of those. He's got a little CC, he's got some condition removal, and he's got some speed buffs and things like that, and even a little bit of healing. He's a solid frame. He falls apart when you compare him to one other frame. You compare him to Valbon. Valbon has better CC, but that doesn't make Valbon the better frame than Neza. It just so I think if you're looking at the jack of all trade frames, I think Cora's standing does rise up a little bit. I'm not saying she's the best of those, but you know, just I definitely she just has a place. I definitely think she has a place for me.
Yeah, I guess I hadn't thought about it like that, especially like thinking about Oberon, because not many people like Oberon, but the people that like him really like it. But he does, at least Oberon specifically, does a lot of different stuff. He's got the ground slam, he's got the AOE damage, he's got the AOE heal, he's got like the little shootout dart radiation thing. So he does do a lot of stuff. And I think if you look at her compared to that, she is pretty good. She's pretty strong. Because, I mean, I don't feel bad if I'm running with an Oberon. I don't play him as much. I do have him, but I don't play him as much. So I think she does just fall into that category for me. And when I think about it like that, like she does fall into that, every, like the jack of all trades. Like if I log in one day and you're like, you know what? I want to have the ability to heal, but I also want to do a lot of damage at the same time. I might pick her up. Like I might play her because I'm not wanting to like be typecasted and focus on one thing. And it's not saying that playing a highly focused frame is bad either. I think they all have their place. But I don't know. Like I said, I'm still just excited to see where she goes. I think it's going to be awesome. Speaking of some new changes, we do have a huge update that's going to be dropping next week of our resident thick girl, Saryn. I'm so excited
Hold
for
on to your
this.
butts.
Yep, all of them. Clinch the butts. Hold them tight. Keep them close. So, they have been working on this since February 16th. So, it was before all the Sanctuary Onslaught stuff came in and all those changes. And man, this is a lot of changes. This is going to pretty much change how she's working completely. Now, I don't play Saryn. I got Saryn Prime. I bought her because I thought she looked cool and I liked her TennoGen skin. And she was super cheap for plat. So I was like, oh, I'll just get her. And so I ended up getting her finally finished building on Friday. So a couple days ago, and I played her for maybe about 20 minutes, got her to MR24, and I had no idea what I was doing. So I'm probably not going to play her until this update goes in. But there are a lot, like I said, there's a lot of changes, and I'm really going to have to defer to Jeremy here to kind of explain these, because he's the one that, has put so much time into Saryn and really does love her. So I'm going to throw it over to Jeremy so he can kind of explain this to us.
If I need to wear the mantle of Thicc, then I will do so with honor.
Do it.
Let's dive into this. So, this does seem like a pretty heavy change, but it does more than anything looks positive to me. And it seems like from the community, I've watched a couple of videos. Um, People seem mostly excited about it. I think there are specific builds that this is going to sort of dismantle a little bit, and I know a couple of her specific mods from syndicates are going to need I almost said twerked. They're going to need reworked a little
I
bit.
know what you're thinking about, butts.
I know it's Saryn. I can't help it. Um, but but there it is again. It does seem to be a good change overall, and it seems like, at least written out like this, I think very few people have had any hands on. I don't know if there's some people that have done like a private test server or something like that, but it does seem, at least on paper, to be a very positive buff to her. So we'll kind of hit some of this verbatim, and then I'll probably fangirl out a lot. So hold on. So first things first, she is getting an armor increase. Regular Saryn has 175 armor at rank 30. She's going up to 225.
That is a lot of armor. That is really
That's
nice.
Yeah, that's a decent chunk of armor.
Yeah.
And Saryn Prime starts at 225. Now she is going up to 300. So
What?
300 armor at rank 30. So if you have Saryn Prime, 225 if you don't. So Saryn is, all that thickness is actually being translated into tank. She is super durable for a caster. I don't know what the correct term in Warframe is. I call them casters because she feels, the people that are using their abilities more than their skills, caster. So
I think it's a fair way to
um,
call her.
yeah, I think it makes sense. So um, they were looking at some of her one of her play styles, for sure, is the spore turret that they're looking at. They don't like that gameplay. It's very passive. So the way that the spore turret works is you use her 2 skill, which is molt. It makes a copy of yourself that lasts for, a duration, and then you cast your spores, which is her 1 ability, onto the dummy you just created, and then you pop it from there so it spreads those spores out, right? So they don't like that. So one of the nerfs, because there are a couple of, if you want to call them nerfs, there are a couple here, and that is actually the first one, is that is going away. You won't be able to cast spores on your molt anymore.
Oh, I'm actually
um,
kind of sad about that. That's like what you told me to do when I was learning
right.
Saryn.
Yeah, that's the cheeky combo now, is you hit 2 and then you hit 1 on that, and then
And then
you
you
hit
shoot it.
4. Yeah, you hit 4, and that pops all the spores, so it fills the room with spores, and then your 4 detonates all those spores. So that's sort of the easy combo, but it doesn't really reward higher skill. That is something that someone who picked up Saryn today, and someone who's been playing Saryn since she came out, or since her last rework, I believe, was in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
um, that's it's low skill. So skill is definitely something that's going into this. They're wanting to reward people who play better. So it doesn't sound like they're going to punish people who aren't particularly adept, but they want to reward people who really put in the work and really put in the skills to learn how to play it. So um, I figure we'll just go through the skills. So spore is her 1 skill. And the way that used to work is you would cast the spores on the guy standing in front of you or whatever, and then you shoot the spore. It pops the pustule. Uh, she is gross. Spoiler alert.
That is
It pops
disgusting.
that pustule, and then that pustule spreads to all the enemies in an area. Basically, so what you do is, the more spores you pop, the more those spores start to spread to other things around you, and they're always ticking damage. and that would last until a certain duration was hit, and then the spores would go away. So what they're doing now is each time you cast Spore, it now has an infinite duration. So if I cast Spore on this Grineer Butcher who's running at me, those spores will last until he dies because they do a damage over time tick. And if I pop them, it will still spread to nearby enemies. And then over time, the more things you have infected with the spores, the more damage they do. So it starts to ramp up that damage. So, and now there's no duration cap. So it theoretically is possible to achieve, I believe it's 100k damage or 10k damage. I think it's 10k damage per tick with these spores. And that sounds wildly overpowered, but the thing you have to keep in mind is if they're doing that much damage per tick, it's going to kill the stuff really quickly, meaning you have less and less time. The more powerful these spores get, you have less time to spread them to other things. So you're going to need to be on the move. You're going to need to be getting stuff. So that's sort of a built-in check to keep her in balance. And that's genius, I think, because
Yeah.
eventually they're going to turn themselves off just because you're out of enemies. It's great.
Yeah, I think that's a really good balance actually thinking about it because when I like listened to this and I saw infinite duration and escalating damage, I was like, "Oh shit. This is going to make her too powerful. Like what are they thinking doing this?" But then literally the duration is determined by having enemies affected by them. So if you kill somebody or pop a spore and there's nobody around to get that spore is gone. So
Right.
it's literally you need to make sure that there are people around you constantly to do it. So using a mission as an example in a defense mission, at the end, once that wave's cleared, your spores are going to be gone, which means your
Right.
damage is reset and you're going to have to start all over again. And if you have to run around and find that one person's probably not going to have the spore on him because he's probably in BFE hiding stuck to a wall, like where they always hide is underneath you in a wall, running into it or stuck somewhere. So, it is that natural check. Now, there is a huge note, and if you go to the dev workshops, if you go to their forums and go to the dev workshop, this is where they update all of this information and they put it on here and you can give your thoughts back to it. I know before people have pointed stuff out, but they do have a huge developer note on this that this is experimental. So they showed it on the stream on the prime time and it did work, but it's one of those things is that they're trying something that they don't have anything that's an infinite duration or escalating damage. Like that doesn't exist in the game as far as a Warframe. So they're still testing this, so this might not make it to live. It might change by the time this goes into the patch, or it might be scrapped completely and they have to go back and do something new. But if this works, this is going to be amazing because it buffs her, but it also keeps her in check. It doesn't make her 100% required, which is what I love.
Right.
It does give that transparency of she would be good for some stuff and not good for other stuff. And it depends on how you play her as a player.
I think another interesting thing here is um, they actually changed the status chance from 10% that it would inflict the viral damage that spores used to do, has gone from 10% to 50%.
Oh, snap.
And that actually will scale with power strength, meaning you could go over 50%. I believe they mentioned that it's going to 100%. It's possible to attain 100% or something to that effect. Um, on top of that, actually changing it from a viral tick to a corrosive tick, which that is a little bit of a nerf there. So now instead of like viral halves their total health, which is why a 10% chance made sense, corrosive uh, degrades their armor. So now Saryn is very adept at stripping armor, especially if you toss some power strength on there and you get that 50% bumped up. Then you're really starting to strip that armor, which might mean that depending on how this infinite duration and scaling damage goes, Saryn players required to have corrosive aura on. during the higher level missions, since she is basically a walking corrosive aura. So I'm interested to see how that plays out. Having not taken her into sorties and that sort of thing, I don't know how important that viral was. I'm assuming that viral was very handy, but luckily, while they switched spores from viral to corrosive, miasma, her 4 skill, it was switched from corrosive to viral. So she still has those viral proc. They're just they got moved to the big nuke and moved off of this new infinite scaling skill.
So, if I'm understanding that correctly, essentially what that means is that the spores, when they go on, will be taking corrosive damage onto the enemies that they're on, which will strip their armor. And then when you pop the 4 to detonate it, they will explode and will cause viral damage. Is that correct?
Miasma itself does an AoE that'll be viral damage. It is a 100% guaranteed viral effect. And it goes for, how long is it? It is a 5-second duration, and it does 500 base damage, and it does double damage on things that are affected by spores. So it's a pretty big viral nuke. And this does not say anything about the range. I imagine it's a pretty good range because it is currently so.
Yeah, and I bet ability range and stuff like that will change it as well.
Yeah, most likely.
That is actually incredibly powerful, because essentially
so.
what they're doing is they're taking that corrosive damage and they're putting it on that escalating damage, so it's doing more ticks. And once that armor is gone, so anything with increased armor, it's going to start ticking at their health. And then as soon as you want to, you can pop it, and viral will just straight up take their health over everything else. So you're looking at not only like a huge amount of damage with that escalating damage for the corrosive, but that viral hit could hit, and that's 5 seconds. So if that's 5 ticks, if it's ticking every second of damage of viral, and that's a lot of damage, like that's gonna be huge. So it's not I don't see it as a nerf. I think that's intense, literally. Like, wow.
Yeah, I think I actually think if anything happens with spores, as far as the infinite scaling and infinite damage, or escalating damage, sorry, not infinite. I actually think that the nerf that they'll do here um, could very well be just making them do less damage, because it's sort of a closed loop where you run out of enemies and then your duration is up essentially. I think they might just slow down the ticks, because I think the infinite scaling, I think it works. I think it, obviously this is all on paper. We'll find out this week when the changes go in. But, and another thing, before we move away from spores to her next skill, they are actually adding a little new UI adjustment. She will have something that looks very similar to Nidus's stacks that will show you how many things you have that are affected by spores. And it will show you, the damage tick, so it shows you a running tick of how much damage each spore is doing, which is really nice.
Yeah,
And,
sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, another thing that I saw here, and this is just from my experience with playing Saryn yesterday and Friday and stuff like that, and trying to at least get a little bit of an idea of how she plays currently, that I did notice that the only way in this new change to spores, the only way to spread them is by popping them, essentially. Because if you recast that one ability in spores, it will actually detonate all of your active spores and deal 2 times the damage to anybody that's infected, and then it starts over again. So you can basically, there are 2 ways to nuke these spores that are out there, but you're not actually going to be able to keep just spamming your one and put spores on everything, which they've also said that they're thinking about looking when an enemy with spores dies, spreading to the surrounding enemy. And this is another one that in the dev workshop, they do have a developer note on this as well, that they're a little apprehensive about doing that, since they've paired it with the mechanic of the escalation and the infinity. So that might change. You might not actually be able to spread them when the affected target dies, but still, like, just pop them, just pop the little pustules and keep them going. And
I think there's a good chance that with Saryn we may see quick firing weapons that have low damage be something that Saryn players may gravitate towards, so they don't accidentally kill their target. Instead, they just pop the pustules, like an Ignis Wrath, because you want just enough damage to pop the spore without first killing the target. Like I use the Tigris Prime occasionally, just because it's funny. But I do notice that if of all the shot that comes out of the Tigris, if it kills the enemy, then it doesn't pop the spore. Then you don't get that benefit of popping the spore. So something like the Soma, because it fires so quickly, or the Ignis Wrath, the flamethrower, I can see stuff like that start to become like the go-to weapon, simply because not only are you guaranteed to hit the spore, but you're also guaranteed that the damage ticks won't instantly kill the target, allowing you to spread those. So that'd be kind of cool. Like you'll have some characters that want the really powerful weapons, but then there's also a good little niche market for some of the weaker weapons, maybe with a high fire rate. I think it's exciting.
Yeah, that's gonna bring a lot of interesting build diversity, I think. Like especially if we take a look at all of the weapons that are there, that people have, and people usually go for the big damage. But if you're just trying to infect as much, you're gonna be becoming a lot more power strength and focusing on your abilities than your weapons. So you want something that's
Right.
highly aimable and very targetable, and you can just shoot at the spore, pop just the spore, spread them around, and keep going. It's a very interesting change.
So the next skill, Molt, is her two ability. And that one is basically you fire it off currently, and it creates a copy of herself. And she does have a mod that called Regenerative Molt that it augments the skill so that she regenerates health after she casts it. And what this ability is intended for is a quick getaway. It creates a copy of her that has some aggro, so she can get away if something's focus firing her. And the biggest thing they added to this, other than taking away the ability to cast spores on it, is now it will scale. It will scale its HP similar to the way Rhino's Iron Skin works. So when you first cast it off, it has a few seconds of complete invulnerability, where the more damage that's dealt to it, the more health it will have as an end result, basically making it scale based on the enemies you're fighting, which is really solid, I think. So, and then when it dies, it will explode, throwing out some toxic damage, which is always cool. Um, there's another toxin tick right there. But the other thing that this actually is a huge benefit for Saryn is regenerative molt. A lot of players in higher level content, regenerative molt actually doesn't do anything because it gives her that heal over time, uh, after molt's been cast. But if a level 200 heavy gunner mowed your molt down really quickly, then you lose the benefit of that regeneration. So now that it has that duration where it's purely invulnerable, and then it scales based on the damage it took during that period, she's much more likely to get the full benefit of that regeneration. So now she actually has a reliable self heal, is essentially the outcome that's going to happen here, which is
Yeah.
nice.
And I noticed on here as well, they also talk about the effects changes for so when she casts it's more pronounced. That was actually
Mhm.
kind of an issue I had when I was playing her, and we were on Hydron, which, isn't a bad map. It was just a defense mission, no big thing. And I kept accidentally hitting the molt, and I wouldn't realize like where it left the clone or something. And I kept like getting disoriented a little bit when that happened, because I would hit it and I wouldn't even realize I was hitting it. And the next thing I know, I'm in a different spot and I can't find my thing. And it depends on which way you're walking. So the fact that they're just going to make that a little bit more pronounced as well is really nice for someone who might have fat fingered it, or might have just accidentally did something, or gets confused or gets surrounded by people. That way maybe you can orientate yourself a little faster. So I'm
I
very
will
excited for
say,
that.
I will say on the flip side of that, I actually have a concern here, um, because we don't know what that means. Because it says, like, on the bullet point, I'm reading it, quote, improved FX changes to make her molt cast more pronounced, end quote. So I'm curious, does that mean casting animation? Because currently There's no casting animation whatsoever. You hit the button and there it is.
Huh?
So are they just going to do, is it just effects? And the reason I say that is because I use that skill simply as a way to divert fire because I don't have regenerative molt at this point. So I use it in the air sometimes. I'll be bullet jumping through the air and I'll just leave it behind me if, a heavy gunner or a Nox is shooting at me. I'm just curious, like, all it says is FX changes, so I wonder if it'll just be a slurp noise like the one you love so much from Nidus, and that's it,
Ugh.
or is it gonna be like a difference where like Ash can go invisible mid-air, but Loki has to stop and cast it real quick. It takes about the same amount of time, but Ash can do it on the run. I don't I think if that was what they were talking about, they would have mentioned it. But it is
Yeah.
something like I have just a slight little concern here that that might be the direction it goes. I don't know that that's a bad thing. It just means that of all the other stuff I'm going to have to relearn to play Saryn, that's one more thing I'm going to have to get used to is like, okay, now I have to stand still for a second. And I imagine they'll leave it as the oh shit button that it is now, but I'm just curious if that might be what they're alluding to. That would be something I'm concerned about.
Yeah, I feel like if they were gonna put a cast time with it or a casting animation, they would have said that because what I noticed when I was playing her current build is when you hit that 3, you just little you like pop out and you're done. Like it's gone, it's behind you, it's in front of you, depending on how you were moving, stuff like that, or it's in the air, etc. So what I think though would be really nice is if they did a visual effect around her, maybe made like your energy swell around you, like form like a cocoon really quick, just something really fast so you know that it's happening. Because the other thing is like it happens so fast. Like you just pop forward or pop back or pop in that direction so fast, and then you turn around or you look in front of you, and then there's another you. And there's no actual visual effect to Saryn's body when it happens. At least not quick enough or big enough to like really catch in that short amount of time. So I'm really hoping that that means it's like a sound effect, like you said, and it's something like that. I really
Yeah.
think if they were gonna do a cast time, they would have said it, and that probably would have made a lot of people very angry.
Yeah, I agree. They probably would have said it, but just I I I can be a little apprehensive about it, I think is
That's fair.
the thing. So moving right along to her third skill, and since we skipped ahead and already covered miasma, this is the last skill from her big rework. This is Toxic Lash, and even you Saryn mains may not know what this does because no one uses it.
I
Currently, it
do. I used it a lot
currently
because it's the only one I knew how to work.
yeah. Well, currently it added Toxic Lash added to it added a toxin damage to your melee, and now it actually is going to add toxic damage to your primary, your secondary, and your melee, which is huge. I am so excited about this. So this is another way for her to or to toss out that toxin damage. So she's not losing toxin. Actually, I would argue she's gaining toxin damage because you can't control where the spores go. With Toxic Lash, you can pop that onto your primary and your secondary, and you know exactly where that toxin damage is going. This is really powerful. I'm very excited.
That's going to be really nice, and I know that they also increased the duration of it because when I
Yep.
popped it while I was leveling, I felt like it was just over so fast, and especially with it only being on the melee, like I would pop it and I would like run around, and then there'd be that one person that was all the way across the defense maps, and then I had to try to bullet jump to get them, and then I didn't get there in time. So they are increasing the duration from 30 seconds to 45 seconds, and that I think that's amazing because that'll really help with the if you want to switch to melee or you need to switch to your primary fire or you have to go run and chase down that one person or that capture target. That will give you a lot more
Yeah.
time to keep that buff active.
Yeah. So that's kind of the interesting thing here is so they did increase that duration from 30 to 45 seconds, but this still has a duration, so there is still a reason between this and miasma going from it lasts 5 seconds. there does seem to still be a little bit of a reason to keep some duration onto Saryn, even though you don't need them for the first skill anymore. So I don't think it ruins builds, because Toxic Lash is becoming so much more useful here. uh, there is a slight nerf to Toxic Lash, but it makes sense why they're doing this. So currently, if you kill something, I believe it's if you kill something with Toxic Lash, so you've got your melee out, and it had spores on it, it would regen some energy, something real small, like 2 energy. Or maybe when you popped a spore, it gave you 2 energy back. So they removed that. So she no longer has that energy regen built into the Toxic Lash skill. However, since her first skill is infinite duration, and Molt has given her more health, so she doesn't need to use it so much. And now Toxic Lash and Miasma both have longer durations. She's using a lot less energy. So I think it's probably not going to feel like a nerf, but it is something that they're removing. I know currently I don't have primed flow. It's just regular flow, but it is maxed out. And my Saryn has 600 energy max right now. That's insane. The only time I'm ever out of energy with Saryn is around like infested or those little rollerblade guys that drain your energy for being around them. So I don't know that she really needs that energy restore given the changes, but it's there.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, you could always, put the energy siphon aura onto her and she'll get energy back at the same rate, or at
Yeah.
least not at the same rate, but she will get energy back. So I think that there's enough ways to regen energy in the game, whether it's with your operator, depending on what focus school you took, or if, you have somebody in your party that can do that to give it back to you. If you're with, energy siphons, you're with a hero who's getting headshots. There's a lot of ways to get energy back. It kind of just feels a little redundant to
Yeah.
let her get that energy restore that way, especially with the buff of being able to get that toxin effect on all of your weapons. I can see the melee, it kind of made you work towards it a little bit because you had to go out and melee them. You had to get close. You had to hit the spore and burst it. But I mean,
Yeah.
just take a Tiburon Prime, put it on semi-auto, and just pop, 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 and
Pop,
it just
pop.
it's a little redundant at that point. So I don't think it's
Yeah.
that bad. But I also don't play her that often, so we'll see.
Yeah, I will say also, ever since I have picked up the Zeneric school for focus, and I got the energizing dash, and I don't have energy problems anymore, even on high level infested missions where you've got a lot of those leech extremists around. A lot of that's just gone away. So I don't think this is a nerf. This is just something that they've taken away, like you said, because it is getting a little redundant at this point, I think, for her.
Yeah, there's
Um,
just too many ways to regen at that point.
yeah, yeah. So the only other thing for Toxic Lash is it has an augment called Contagion Cloud, which when you kill stuff with the Toxic Lash, it leaves behind a cloud. Now, when you do that with a melee attack, so it keeps that melee buff in there, the melee damage is doubled, like by that cloud. So that cloud that does the toxin damage, it's going to be even more damage now. So, and that and Toxic Lash. Oh, I actually missed this. It does give the damage to your primary, secondary, and melee, but the melee damage is doubled. So it is still saying, "Hey, Saryn, do melee," but now you're not. It's not mandatory. Like you can only do melee. So it's just making her more flexible, which she's thick and she's flexible. I mean, sign me up. That's cool.
I
That's
know,
cool with me.
right? And I like the little bit in there that they do actually give the melee weapons double damage there, because the
Yeah.
people that do actually use it, nothing's changed. You're just going to be doing more damage. So, you're doing more, and then if you feel like you just want to sit back and snipe a little bit or shoot from a distance or go crazy and go with the Tigress and just scatter shot everything and double hammer shot it, you can. And and for the people that liked the melee, they've doubled it. So they're kind of like, yeah, we understand that you might not be happy that this is going to everything, but you still can do the melee if you really want to. and you can, you know, pop and get double damage clouds for doing melee. So there is still a reason to do melee, but they are opening it up so maybe more people will use it, which I appreciate.
So the only other point in here that we haven't covered is that Saryn is getting new audio,
Oh
which
yeah.
one of the cool things is DE Danielle is the one that's going to be lending her voice to Saryn, which will make Saryn, I believe, the third or maybe second uh Warframe that actually technically has a voice actor. She's the second because Rebecca's not a frame. So Valkyr has all those amazing screams that I believe Megan did. Now Danielle is going to be adding a little bit of her voice into some of Saryn's skills. So there's actually a quote here from Jeff Hartling, who's the sound designer, and I'm going to go ahead and just read the quote because it pretty much sums up anything I could say, except he's a professional and this is much more concise. So instead of rambling for 15 minutes, we'll just cut to this. He says, quote, "We are giving Saryn a voice when she casts, voiced by DE Danielle, which will add character and make her feel more connected to the abilities as you cast them. We really amped up the poison aspect of her sound so that she feels more deadly in combat. In addition, we've remastered all of her sounds to have increased clarity and focus," which I'm sure you are excited about the poison aspect of her sounds because I guarantee it's going to be squishy, gurgly noises. And I know how much you love those.
And I will immediately turn off other player sounds so I don't have to hear that because it will make me throw up. I hate like weird sucking Cthulhu noises.
Nidus's tentacle baby is, I think, the worst offender.
Yeah, and I usually run away from that and shoot it with as much stuff as I can to end it as quick as possible, which is why I'm a really bad player.
Fire.
Exactly. I try to kill it with fire. But I love that they're doing this. I will say, I'm not a huge fan of some of the, like when they give characters voices. Coming from an MMO background, especially having played Black Desert Online, I can't tell you how annoying it is to hear someone go, yeah, yeah, ha, like as they're swinging a sword. And it gets really tiring, but I like that they're only kind of doing it on the abilities. I feel like it'll make it a little bit more intense versus just a static voice all the time. And I really do appreciate it. And I also love that it's DE employees that are doing this. Like,
right.
I mean, they could have flown anybody in, but they're using the talent they have there. Like, they're using the people within their studio to do this. And that is just more props to DE for doing that, because they could have brought anybody in. There is a plethora of voice actors out there that do a lot of video game additional voices and stuff like that. But they're using the people that are there and the people that have been there.
And I will throw out there a little bit. Valkyr's abilities are all just these real guttural screams because she's supposed to be like the embodiment of rage, which is great and it works for her. They do actually play a couple of the skills on the stream with the new sound effects for Saryn, and they don't sound like a woman casting a skill like you might think. It's much more of this like ethereal, like there is a voice in there, but it doesn't sound like the Warframe is speaking. So it's not really butting up against the lore, I don't think. The way I heard it anyway, I didn't think it sounded like it. It sounded much more like they're just adding like human sound effects in there so that it feels more natural and less robotic, which I think it works. Yeah, so it's not like she's going, "Oh yeah, spores," and then the spores come out. Like it's not that cut and dry. It's just more like the ambient audio. You can tell it's a human sound, but it isn't like a scream like Valkyr's.
That's really cool. I actually hadn't listened to it. I didn't actually like listen to it. I did watch it from Jeremy's screen, but he had his headphones on, so I wasn't actually listening to it. So it's really cool to know that, because I was kind of just wondering, like, how is that going to sound? Like, what kind of noises are they going to do to kind of really like connect that, but also not connect it? Because all
Yeah,
I can
her.
see is like spore attack, and like then suddenly my head goes to that really anime thing of just like
Yeah,
laser punch, and like they call out their attacks before they do it, and she's gonna jump in the air and a splash screen's gonna come up and it's gonna say the attack in a really cartoony way,
yeah.
like, you know.
We're watching Seven Deadly Sins all over again.
I know, right? Yeah, so I'm kind of glad that it alludes to something, but it's not
Yeah.
just spore attack, ice spore.
Yeah, and her voice may be a little more. I'm sure they're going to do a once over through this. So her voice may be a little more pronounced. It's not like it's not a human casting sound like you might be familiar with. So I think it's a solid change, and I think it's cool to have these women doing voices for the frames. I think it's really neat. I know we're supposed to be like little children controlling these frames, but there has been almost especially when you get into the lore of the stalker, and I won't go too much into it because I don't know a lot of it, but the stalker is not a tenno, but the stalker is a frame. So there is this weird, like, how does he work? And is he mad at us because he doesn't have what we have? Or like, there's some give and take there, and then all this stuff around Valkyr. Is she a living suit? Because we know that infested stuff, like, it runs our ship, that's why it's there. So and we use parts of these living things to build our frames when we're building like their neuroptics and their chassis. So we know that it takes in these bioorganic materials. So these suits in a way are alive. So it's neat to have like a just a little bit of a sound effect, just really, really tying that all together. I think it's really cool. And I love that they're starting to add that in. And I love that they're doing it with Saryn, who is one of my favorite friends.
Yeah,
Ooh.
it's really exciting. And I really do think that I don't know. I love that they're doing it. I think it's really interesting, and I appreciate that, it's something that they haven't done before, but they're starting to do it. And instead of saying we're giving everybody voices, they're kind of doing it organically, as they're
Yeah.
changing people, as they're doing stuff. So overall, everything with the Saryn update, not having really played her beforehand, I'm stoked. I think these are all really interesting changes. I think they change her gameplay. I think they change group gameplay as a whole, and really adds to like what we were talking about with Harrow earlier. It really adds to the, if you learn how everybody works, having a party that understands that they need to pop the spores and so the damage can tick, and being mindful. I think it's going to be really great and really kind of build in that group play a little bit more. So it's not everybody's a hallway hero and going off and fighting
Yeah.
stuff and you just kill stuff and you're done. It does give
Yeah,
that stuff.
I have to say it's the exact opposite of my complaints about Harrow. With Saryn, it encourages the rest of the party. I always aim for spores, even if I'm not the one playing Saryn, I always aim for those spores because I know that's helping out that Saryn, and it's helping spread that damage, which is in turn helping the whole team. Even if Saryn has 10 times the kills the rest of the group has, it's helping us clear that damage or clear those enemies faster. It's helping us spread out that damage. I really like how Saryn really embodies like teamwork
Yeah,
in
exactly.
in a way that, like, she is just as powerful by herself because she can spread those spores, but now you've got other players popping those spores in a four-man, and suddenly her kit just starts really coming together and those damage numbers start really going up. And I don't know, I like that teamwork, and I think that is actually why I like Saryn so much and why I want to like Harrow so much. Is Harrow, sometimes it feels bad having a team, but Saryn, if you have a team that's aiming for those spores, it's always good.
Exactly. It really is. And it really does influence that team play, which is, what holds Warframe up as a really good PvE game and really good, space ninjas that, you can do hard stuff and you can do easy stuff, and it's great. And I don't know, I'm really excited for all this stuff that's coming in. Like I said, it was a really, as you can tell, I mean, we're pretty far into this recording, and it is a lot of news. A lot of changes are coming into Warframe, and for the
And
most part, they're all great.
I do feel like we've been too positive, so I'm just going to say real quick, I hate Limbo. I hate you. I hate you, and you need redesign. Okay, there. Now we're not white knighting too much.
Yeah, and I really hope that you guys don't think we are white knighting. It's just one of those things, we're not the 4-year vet players. We haven't been at it very long, but coming from with a level head and looking towards, our experiences, not only from us playing, but with playing with other people and talking to other people and talking to those vets that have been around for so long, like, it's such a wide gamut of people and there's a lot of different opinions around it, but the general consensus of what I'm finding so far, like looking at the Reddit and looking at forums and talking to people on stream and talking to people in game and randos and general chat and, alliance chats and everything, is for the most part, it's actually all good changes. And,
Yeah.
the game's been out for a while. Games that are like this, they do evolve, and new metas come up and new issues come up and new hardware comes in and they have to adjust for that. So I think it's great. I'm going to withhold my judgment on a lot of it. I'm going to be optimistic, but I'm going to withhold like my final say of yes, this is the best thing to happen versus no, this isn't the best thing to happen until it goes in game, because at the end of the day, until it hits live, we don't know. It could change tomorrow and it could be completely different by the time we get it. So, but what they're proposing right now and all of the changes I've seen this week and like in the past couple weeks even are all really good things. Even if I don't agree with them, they're good for the long term of the game. I mean, alrighty, so we're gonna end with some really cool stuff that. So Jeremy and I we don't troll the Reddit, but we do actually like look at the Reddit a lot. There's a lot of really interesting discussions that happen on there and a lot of really cool questions. And we actually found a couple posts that were really interesting, covering a wide gambit of stuff, but they were so interesting we thought we'd bring them up because they are kind of like a what is your opinion type of thing, or what are your thoughts. And there are a couple that were poll results from some polls that went up that had a huge amount of people voting. So if you voted in some of those polls that have been up this week, awesome. Like, I'm really excited to take a look at those. But I think we're first going to start with some etiquette stuff. There's been a couple really interesting posts about proper etiquette when you're in groups. And it can be from a specific type of group, a specific type of mission. So we've got a couple really cool posts on that, and I'd like to kind of see where we lie, because Jeremy and I haven't talked about this yet. We've only know that we have the posts. So I'm really interested to see what our opinions are on this.
Yeah. So do you want to start with mine?
Yeah, go on ahead and start with the one that you have.
So I actually found two, and I'll kind of lump them together because it's all etiquette stuff. But the first one, uh, I found really interesting because I have been on both sides of this. As one is we've been clearing the star chart, and two, as I've actually gone in, trying to, like on Helene, trying to grind up and get some level and get that affinity and that focus, is about holding players hostage. And what they're talking about here is, if you get in with a group of 4 players, and let's say you're on a survival mission, right? Because survival, it is entirely possible to go over an hour in a single survival mission, especially with a good four group. I think the world record is 10 hours.
Oh dang, that's a long time.
Yeah, right.
I
That's a
I
lot,
don't.
and that's one mission.
Oof, I like get tired of doing survivals. If we even get close to like an hour, I'm like, all right, I'm done. Let's go. I don't want to be here
Yeah,
anymore.
I think Daniel and I went to 45 minutes in one, and then we stopped because we had something else we were going to go do. So,
Yeah,
um,
exactly. But anyway, holding people hostage.
yeah. So let's say you and I were not queuing together, but we just happened to both end up in a mission together. You are trying to clear the star chart. I am grinding for materials and relics. Um, so we both get into this mission, and without saying anything at all, and let's say we got 2 other people here with us, so we have a four stack. Um, and you just need the 5 minutes so that you can get out of the map and get to your next star chart. I want to go at least an hour. Who has the right of way here? Because
Hmm.
you cannot trigger the extraction without at least a second player. So and so that's sort of what it's talking about, holding the group hostage, because if you leave early, you don't get credit for finishing the mission, like if you quit the party.
Yeah, because you
um
abort the mission, right?
right. So this had some really good discussion in it, whether or not, like, is it majority rules? If those other two people that are there, they want to go longer, do you guys all just have to stay with me? And then you get stuck in a mission for well over an hour. If, like, what happens if, like, nobody told you, but they're going for a world record? You know, I mean, obviously, if you were over an hour, you'd say, screw it, I'm just going to quit and do the mission over again. But that's a waste of your time. On the flip side, because of the AABC rotation, in a survival mission, you at least need to stay 20 minutes so you can get that C reward if the C reward pool has something in it that you want. So this post, it actually had a lot of, I'll say, fair arguments for both sides of, do you bring it up, or do you go with the person who wants to stay the least amount of time, because A, it keeps everyone from being a dick, and B, the players that want to go longer can just queue up right away. On the flip side, the players that wanted to go longer, they shouldn't have to leave just because one person in the party is just trying to complete the star chart. And they also say, hey, you're getting carried for 20 minutes, you'll get a good reward, you should at least just participate. So there was a lot of back and forth. So I'm curious, like, what's your take?
Hmm. I guess I can kind of see both sides on this because I have been in those missions where I'm like, hey, I need to stay for so long. I need to do this. And I have been on some where I literally loaded and I'm like, look, I'm just doing star chart. I don't want to stay very long. I think I really do believe that there is such a thing as getting held hostage. And I think that there's a problem with it. The only like hard thing to do about this and like the hard thing to figure out is like, did you say anything up front? So like
Yeah.
usually I know when Jeremy and I load into maps, if we're gonna be staying a couple rounds or if we don't know, we always ask how many rounds do you guys want to stay? How long are we staying? Like how long are we being
Yeah.
here? And
And
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
just that was something that I felt like didn't get brought up enough. There were some people going through and like just ask at the beginning, before the first life support thing, or before the first excavator, before the first wave even starts, whatever type of mission you're doing, is just ask. Just say, hey guys, I need to leave at 5 minutes. I'm just here for map completion. I'm just here to get credit so I can get to Eris or whatever. And I was kind of like, part of me wanted to just Three Stooges smack all these people on the side of the head and say, hey, just ask. I was really shocked that so few people actually were saying this, because I completely agree you can get held hostage, but at what point is it the hostage's fault because they didn't say anything when they first got in there and the other guys just didn't even notice?
Yeah, and that's like the weird thing because I guess if you say something up front, the people that want to go longer, the worst thing you do is you stay your 5 minutes and then you requeue. You're gonna have to requeue if you're only staying in 20 minutes, 30 minutes, etc. And if you're trying to go for an hour to survival mission one, why are you doing it in public? Like,
Yeah.
I can't tell you, I can't come up with anybody who'd want to do that in public. No times in, like, if I wanted to go an hour in survival, I would say, hey, Jeremy, I want to do an hour long survival. Let's find two other friends that want to do an hour long survival with me. Let's
Yep.
all hop into Discord and let's do it. And let's have fun and
Exactly.
we'll screw around for an hour. I'm not going to go in by myself to a survival mission and say, hey guys, we're staying an hour and suck it, Like,
and and I will admit that is a bit of an exaggeration, just sort of to get my point across. The
yeah.
main brunt of the argument was between the bare minimum to get out of the map versus going for a whole rotation, the AABC, which is, that's going to be 4 excavators, 20 waves in a defense mission, 20 minutes on a survival. So it's not a whole hour, but
Yeah.
you know like I said, I was just kind of trying to just make a point, I guess.
Yeah, no, and I guess seeing it from someone who has like recently been doing a lot of Star Chart stuff, luckily I've had 3 other people with me that know that we're just doing Star Chart stuff. We're just doing that. They know we're only staying in for the minimum time and then we're leaving. But if I was in a public group, like just by myself, and I wanted to do that, and like I ask and say, hey, how long are we staying? I'm only here to finish the Star Chart. And and a couple of them are like, man, well, we're wanting to stay 20 minutes, for example, or 20 rotations, to get a full AABC rotation. I guess it's just the type of player that I am that I'll be fine with it, because at the end of the day, that gets me an AABC rotation on the same time of it. I can see the issue, if they're being jerks, or like they're being rude, or I, only have 10 minutes that I can get on a Warframe today, and I literally have to leave in 10 minutes. In those situations, I could understand, but at the same time, have some forethought. Run it by yourself if you only need a couple minutes. I mean, every single frame can pretty much make it through the Star Chart by themselves. No brainer. So, I think a lot of it comes down to context. I do think holding hostage is a real thing, but I think that the holding hostage comes on the mentality of the people in the situation. You can look at the situation saying, I'm being held hostage, I want to leave, and they're not letting me because nobody else is coming over here. Or you can say, this is taking longer than I expected, but at least I get rewards out of it, and I get the Star Chart cleared, and I might get something that I'm like, hey, actually, I needed that, or I get more MR rank if you're ranking something up at the time. So I really do think the whole thing comes down to your like mentality on how you view it. And I challenge anybody that does have felt that they're being held hostage. If it's a bad situation, I completely understand. Like if they're being rude and they're saying like bad things and they're making you feel like you're stuck there, by all means, I understand that is legitimately holding you hostage, because it's also being abusive and rude and hurtful on top of it. But if you're going into it and you don't say anything, and 5 minutes go past and you run to the extraction and nobody else is coming and you start getting shitty, then I think you need to check yourself. But I can see both sides. I just really do think it's like the mentality of it.
So kind of piggybacking on the holding hostage, this is the other one, and I'll just go through this really quickly. This is less of a discussion, more of a just an announcement, I guess. But like I said, goes along with holding people hostage. So don't hit the start timer button if you're in a public group. If you're in that much of a hurry, you should just leave the group and requeue yourself. There was a post by someone named rhat_ on their Reddit yesterday that when people are doing sorties, if their loading screen ends faster, then they'll have someone else in the group will have already hit the next mission and hit start timer, and then they get stuck in an endless loop of loading screens, and then they pop out, and like they went to extraction and then they popped out at the next mission. They never made it back to their ship. They didn't have a say in whether or not they were gonna go into this next mission. Maybe they didn't like the group. Maybe the group was, maybe they were a jerk, and but don't hit the start timer button unless you know everybody in your group, because that just seems shady. I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't hit start timer.
Especially with sorties, because I can just know from experience, even though I'm not that great and I was getting carried the whole time, when it came to sorties, I had to look at what it was and say, all right, it's this with this mod. And then like if it was a melee only, I needed to make sure that all my other weapons were unequipped and I had a melee weapon, or secondary only, or say it's a defense mission or a survival mission and there's a frame that I want to take for it, versus like I don't want to run into a survival mission on my squishiest frame. Like, oh, heck no. I'm going to take something a little bit more survival. So don't do it. Just don't press start timer unless you're just trying to be funny and you know the people that are in there. But if you're in a public group, that is really shitty. Like, I'll just say it. Don't do it. So,
I mean, what are you buying? You're buying like 30 seconds. Like, just don't do it.
Yeah, and if they're not like tabbing up, just shoot them a message and say, hey, why aren't you saying like, are you okay? Do you need more time? If or just leave and queue by yourself again. You'll get another full group, especially if it's a sortie. I have never been in a sortie where there's just 3 of us or 2 of us or 1 of us, unless I queue for that on purpose.
Right.
But speaking of public stuff, I found a very good post about etiquette, and this is one by Solomani. And it was on the Reddit a couple days ago, and this is something that I like 100% agree with. And I do see this a lot because I literally saw this in a group this week that I was playing in. And it is if it's okay to join a fissure mission without a relic. So essentially, if you are joining a public fissure mission without a relic, because you've run out of relics, but you still need the traces, and you can get into public matches faster than solo and stuff like that. Is it okay to do this? Now, I feel very strongly about this, so I'm gonna see what Jeremy thinks about this. I know he just said no, but I'm really curious why. Like, so why don't you think this is okay?
Well, okay, maybe it's selfish, maybe it's shitty. I don't know for sure, but so the whole point of the way they have the reward set up for the relics when you're cracking open the relics is, in a way, you get 4 chances at a decent piece of loot. And I know that the person who chooses not to get the rewards, they don't get to choose a piece of that loot. So they're not really leeching in that respect, but at the same time, they are taking away the ability for the rest of the group. They are taking out one of those random allotments. So I would say, if it was, barbecue, you and I and my brother, and you said, I don't have, we're running Axie relics, and you only had 2, and we run 5. I'm not going to get mad because I know you, and I know, I know what's going on. You didn't have any relic, whatever. You're not. I mean, you're still taking one out of the pool, but we're a pre-made group, and we talked about it, and everyone was on the same understanding. Like, oh, Rebecca only has 2 Axie relics, so if we run more than that, she won't have one to bring to the table. Well, that's fine, and no one's going to get all mad about that. But in a public setup where you have 4 random people forced together into a game, and we all have to pick a relic, and you get someone that's not picking a relic, they could have been replaced by someone who was going to pick a relic. And then you could take that a step farther. They could have been replaced with someone who was going to bring a relic that was going to be a Rhino Prime or something like that. Like you're taking out those chances for it to be a good thing, like something you're really looking for. So I say, my vote, you need a relic.
Yep, I actually 100% agree. I think it's really rude not to have a relic. And I'm also in the same camp of this, and I know a lot of people bring it up. They're like, but I ran out of relics. And I know sometimes you go into a public group, everybody's like, yeah, let's keep running this excavation a couple more times. Let's keep going. Let's go to like technically the full rotation, even though it's not, the rotations are different. And someone might be like, suddenly choose to equip no relic after everybody else equipped one. And you're like, why did you do that? And they're like, oh, well, I ran out of relics. Like, well, let me know ahead of time that you're getting low. Because the other thing about it is, like, so say, there's 4 of us in a group, and I have a relic, and Jeremy has a relic, and our 2 other people don't have a relic, and they're randos. So we go, and we're about to restart and keep doing an excavation, and we both equip our relics. They equip no relics, and they both run to extraction. We don't get to do our 2 excavations. Our relics are gone. We wasted them, which means whatever we had in there is gone, which means if that was a radiant or any higher tier of them, then that was a huge waste, because that's so many void traces putting in there to level those up to get those drops. So it's really rude. And another thing, so there's a lot of really cool posts on here on this Reddit, on the Reddit posts, and a lot of them actually break down the math of it. So, for example, Callback Spanner broke down that with 4 normal intact relics, you have a 67% chance to get a silver drop or better. With only 3, that drops to 56%. And the chance of a gold drop with 4 intacts is 8%. With 3, it's 6. So basically, by not having your own relic equipped, you're reducing the average ducat value of everyone else's relics by a total of 12%. And then they even break it down, Frisk 85 breaks it down even more, saying if one player doesn't bring a relic at all, essentially the way it works is the drop chances on a single intact, and this is just a single intact relic, 76% for a common drop, 22% for an uncommon, and 2% for a rare. So if you have a 4-man squad with 4 attacks, that's 4 times the 2% chance to get a drop, and 3 times the 22% chance, or 4 times the 22% chance, 4 times the 76% chance, and so etc. If one player doesn't bring it, that's 3 times the 2% chance, 3 times the 22% chance. So you're literally cutting down the whole party's chance of getting something by a fourth, just
Right.
because you didn't equip the relic. And the cool thing about relics that I just love about it is all of the loot is open. And there's another person on here, the Rabby74, who said that he had a really great run in Neo Fissure because of the other people having the relics equipped. Like, we're talking finished Banshee Prime, finished Sabaris Prime, got Zephyr Prime blueprints, Ballistic Prime blueprints, and all of those came from someone else's. So if
Right.
someone else didn't have that, then that means he wouldn't have had the chance to get those. So really, you're not only gimping yourself, but you're also gimping everybody else, because the cool thing about it is that not everybody has to have the same relic. So if you like, Jeremy's relic might draw something I want, your relic might draw, my relic might draw something you want, and it's all fair game. So to do that is literally selfish, I think, at that point. So if you're going to run out of a relic, please just say, I'm running low on relics, I only have one more. I've done that before in public groups, saying, hey, I only have 2 Neo relics, so I'm going to have to extract after 2. I'm sorry, you guys can requeue again after. I'm like, let me leave and then you guys can requeue. Just be upfront. There is a chat in the game for a reason. Now, I understand the chat's harder to get to on PS4 and Xbox, and maybe that's a whole different culture. I'm specifically talking for the PC culture. You're playing a mouse and keyboard. Even if you're playing with a controller, there's a mouse and keyboard right in front of you. How else, do you log in every time? Do you use like an on-screen keyboard? No, you have a mouse and keyboard in front of you. Use it. Say, hey, I don't have that many relics, or hey, I'm out. Like, it's common decency, guys. Come on, just equip a relic, or just say you don't have one. Don't be that guy. Nobody likes that guy. Don't do it. Sorry, that was a really long tirade. I'm super passionate about this. Like,
Yep.
I hate when people do no relics on a fissure mission. You're wasting my time. Because, yeah, I might get what I want out of mine, but I might not, and yours could have dropped it for me. So, stop it. Stop it right now. Sorry. Do you want to segue into the next one?
Yeah, I suppose. I just wanted to make sure you had the whole rant out of the system.
Yes, I do have the whole rant out of my system. We are good to go. I'm sorry, I'm just really passionate about that.
Okay, so, all right, clunky transition aside, since I'm bad at this. So I found a thread a little over a week ago, and I've been keeping an eye on it just because I was waiting for them to post the results, and they posted the results yesterday. This is from Asai. It's either Asai, Ashai, or Ass High. I'm not entirely sure.
I
So
vote
I mean
ass
no
high.
disrespect. I kind of figure it's Reddit, so I'm guessing it's Ass High. But anyway, so they posted a poll a little over a week ago that had 36 different situations, and you were supposed to vote for which of the Warframes you would take in that situation.
Yep.
There is an insane amount of data here. We'll put a link to this particular post into the show notes, but I did kind of want to go over a couple strange trends that I saw. Um, Interestingly enough, it's that Titania has less than 1% voting on every single one of these. I don't think Titania made like top 5 of any of them, and that is so crazy to me. Um, because I don't think she's bad. I didn't think she was that fun. Like, well, no, I shouldn't say that. She was fun because I like the flying system in this game. But I didn't I, I don't really I can't really think of a situation. I'm kind of backpedaling here. I can't really think of a situation where I would say yes, Titania is the perfect answer. But at the same time, like, I think what amuses me about it is someone did vote because she doesn't have 0%. So someone went through here in about half of these and they did actually vote for Titania, and that amuses me greatly.
Yeah, the ones that she did actually score high on, like at least higher, is the Lua Void Challenge rooms. Obviously, because of Razor Wing, she can just kind of, screw it and fly around. In Plains of Eidolon roaming and bounties as well. And I have to probably say the reasons why she got so high up there is the Razor Wing ability. That allows her to move pretty quickly to get around. And it seems like anytime I think about Titania, that's like the only thing that really comes up about her is the fact that she has the Razor Wings and can fly around really fast. And that's about it. It's kind of sad. I was actually really happy coming to some stuff that I saw. There had one that it broke down if you could only use certain weapons. So obviously if you could use melee weapons, duh, Valkyr. If you could use pistols, Mesa, duh, of course. But if you could only use sniper rifles, Ivara actually got the top hit on that one, and she also got the top hit if you could only use bows. So the bow one I'm not shocked about because I play Ivara, I have Dread on her, it's fantastic. But the fact that she's also, if you could only use sniper rifles, she's up there, that just really kind of threw me off. I guess I don't think about her with sniper rifles at all. Like that's just weird to me for some reason.
So I actually am surprised that she had a commanding 58.49% for the if you could only use bows. I am a little surprised about that because she has the Artemis bow built into her 4 skill. So she doesn't really need a bow.
Actually, yes, she does.
Oh, really?
I did a little bit of testing on her, and I don't know if maybe I just screwed this up. If I am wrong, please let me know, because as far as I know, this is how it worked, but I could be misunderstood. But when I was leveling Ivara, I actually couldn't use her one ability unless I had a bow up. I couldn't shoot the special arrows unless I had a bow.
Interesting.
So I don't know if that's true, and if it's not, please correct me and let me know. Like, send us an email, shoot me a tweet or something, and say, hey, you are incorrect, you could do this. Because like I said, I haven't been able to do it, and I don't know if maybe it's like a weird glitch thing on certain maps that I had. But yeah, you need, as far as I've played her, you need a bow equipped to use her one skill. Because it toggles it, and it basically changes the reticle on it. So the Artemis bow, you actually pull out the bow. When you use the other skill, it basically just, think of it like Hanzo. It changes the arrow, essentially.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah.
So the other one, though, that you mentioned, the sniper rifles, I am a little surprised. Not that Ivara, Loki, and Harrow scored higher. I'm surprised, actually, that Banshee is a little further down because Banshee's passive, making all weapons silent, I feel like that would make a sniper rifle just utterly devastating because nothing in the room could hear you shooting it.
Yeah, so I can see that.
Even in those mid-sized rooms where I would rather not have a sniper rifle, but it is still usable, even in those sized rooms, you could still clear the whole room and no one in Banshee. That's actually one of my favorite things about Banshee. I don't play her a lot, but I love the interesting take on a stealth frame where instead of being invisible, everything you do is silent as a trade-off. I think that's really smart. So I'm surprised. Like, yeah, she made, what is that? That's number 5 on the list. It's Ivara, Loki, Harrow, Chroma, Banshee, and Rhino rounding out the top 6. Rhino, I think, is on there just because I guarantee there were people that just put Rhino for everything because Rhino is like, he's just a good frame.
Yeah.
But I am surprised that Chroma is above Banshee. And maybe even surprised. Well, I don't know if I'm surprised that Harrow is above Banshee because he loves him some headshots. So
no, that one doesn't surprise me. The one above that, though, that if you could only use shotguns, I'm shocked that Banshee didn't make the top 5 on that one. Because I have never laughed harder than when Jeremy and I are running through spy missions and he's on Banshee shotgunning everything in the face and in the back, and they're just like doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, and I'm like trying to get bow shots off and try to be stealthy, and he's just running around on Banshee just shooting stuff in the face. So I'm shocked she's not higher on that.
Clear a whole room with Boar and no one noticed I was there. Like, that's just such a unique experience to Banshee that I agree. I'm surprised that she's not on the shotgun one.
Yeah, there was one more that I found interesting, and I really thought this was weird. and it was for the defense and mobile defense missions. Now, the first one was Frost, no shocker there, but in second place is Limbo.
Yep.
That's weird. He's
Yep.
above Gara. Like, I don't know why. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, why would Limbo be so high for a defense mission?
It's
Just sucking stuff in the void?
Yeah, because he can put stuff in the void and then it can't damage the defense target.
Oh.
And if you have, I know I just said that I hate Limbo, but if you have a good Limbo can make sure that the entire party doesn't take any damage. Like a really good Limbo that understands, and a party that understands how the void works. And I'll admit, if you're a Limbo out there and you put me in the void, I'm gonna roll right back out of it because I just I feel like I'm being trolled, even if you're like a really good one. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, so I just I want to like Limbo, I do, but I just did not. But anyway, because he can do that, he can mitigate that damage in such a unique way. I'm not surprised that he scored well.
Yeah, that's fair. Maybe it's just because I don't like Limbo very much.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of him. So the last post that we have that was kind of speaking of frames that we don't like was Warframes. What Warframes do you regret buying and or crafting? And this was by Azrael X86. And this one I found very interesting because I know, at least with me and where I'm at in my love for this game, I think a lot about the ones that I love, the frames that I like, what's fun to play. So I don't spend a lot of time thinking about which frames do I actually regret having, or which ones do I wish I didn't craft. And I do actually have some that I'm like, yeah, I wish I didn't craft that. I don't really use it. And it's interestingly enough, and maybe it's just I need to give more time to them or something like that. But I do actually have frames that are just sitting around. So I'm curious which ones you actually regret, Jeremy, because I'm pretty sure every single time you log in, you're on a different frame. So which ones do you have any that you regret buying or crafting here?
I I have two, and one is not as negative as it sounds. So when Rebecca and I first got into the game, and we first really started diving into it, I actually bought some plat and I bought Oberon because I looked up how to get Oberon, and he's a random drop from enemies that are random spawns, and he just looked really, on paper, Oberon looks really difficult. I have enough parts to build 15 Oberons now. So I regret buying him. I don't regret having him. I like him, but I do regret that that was like my first purchase. That's the first thing I spent plat on, was buying Oberon. And I really should not have. I should have played the game just a little bit further, gotten a little bit farther, and seen exactly how easy it was to get Oberon. Um,
Yeah,
the other one is
Oberon.
Chroma.
Oof. Like, regret actually, like, crafting him and grinding him, or
I
just.
I do. Chroma was a lot of work because not only do you need his parts, but you also need other parts from. I believe you need a piece of Ember, a piece of Frost, a piece of Saryn, and a piece of Volt. And Frost is pretty easy to get. Ember is pretty easy to get. Volt is super easy to get if you're in a clan that's researched Volt. But Saryn takes forever to get because you've got to get all the way to, I believe it's Sedna, and then you have to go through these arena battles to fight Cara Dethane, I think is her name,
Yep.
in that boss fight. And that boss fight is a bit of a pain. And that's just for a random chance at a part of Saryn. So I went through all of that to get the part for her. It was the last thing I needed to build Chroma. I got Chroma put together, and I just found him so underwhelming.
Yeah.
So he's probably, I'll admit, I don't like Limbo because I don't understand Limbo, and because of all the hate about bad Limbos, I don't really want to put the work into Limbo. Chroma, I just don't like his kit. I don't want to be a jerk, but I just don't like Chroma. I don't like how he plays. I don't The only thing I like about Chroma is that the color of his energy dictates which of the elements his skills use. But I just don't like it. I just don't think it's fun. His 4 skill drains energy too fast. His 1 skill doesn't do enough damage to make it worth it. His 2 and his 3 are okay, but party members run away from you and then it was not worth your time. And I just I feel like I lost a few days of game time where I could have been doing something else.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I think for me, I kind of do regret Limbo a little bit for crafting him. I liked the quest. The quest was pretty cool. It wasn't anything remarkable or stellar. And I guess I had the mats on hand to build him, but I mean he's rank 3. I played him for 1 mission and I haven't touched him since. I don't even leave him in my mastery leveling like frame slot or anything. I just left him sitting there. I'm like, no, not at all. Like, I just don't do it. And as far as buying them, I actually, and this is going to be really weird, I actually kind of regret buying Zephyr Prime. Not because of anything that came with her. The Tiburon Prime was awesome. The Cronin Prime was awesome. Like, you know, all of the extra stuff was great. The rest of it was. I've had her since Prime Access, since like literally maybe like 10 days. Like, I've had her for a really long time, a couple months now, it feels like, because we got her really like almost as soon as the Access came out. So we've had her for such a long time. She is still level 0. I haven't touched her. I haven't even fashion framed her. She has just been sitting there, and she's taking up a slot. And I know I probably should play her, if anything, for the MR. And she's a prime, so I should probably keep her. But there are other frames I'd rather have that slot right now than Zephyr. And it's just kind of like, I don't regret anything else that came with the Prime Access bundle, but I'm not interested in her. I don't think it's fun. I think she looks cool, but I have 0 interest to play her, and now she's just sitting there at rank 0, taunting me every single time, saying, play me, and I'm like, no. And I pick another frame. So I actually kind of regret that one.
I will push back a little bit. I think you should at least get her to 30 and then revisit this opinion and see if it changes. Because
That's fair.
Zephyr, she's sort of in that same boat as Korra. I think Zephyr is a ton of fun. I really, really enjoy her. But outside of the plains of Eidolon, I don't know that there's like a specific mission where I'm like, yeah, I'm taking Zephyr. I've taken her on a lot of different mission types. I cheesed a couple MR tests with her because of her passive where she falls slower than other frames. That helped a lot. And there's just something really gratifying about flying up in the air and then carpet bombing with the Corinth alt fire, which is the little flat cannon version. I think she's a lot of fun. I would challenge you to get her to 30 and then on another episode, like revisit this, see if you still feel that way.
Yeah, I would be kind of interested on that, because and maybe it's just something that I don't know what she's gonna be like or anything like that. You know, I just look at her every single time and I'm like, I could play you, but I don't. You know, like I could do it, but no. I could go, but no. And I have like frames that I think are cool that just have kind of slipped off my radar of playing. Like Loki Prime is a great frame, but I got Ivara and I haven't played Loki except for 1 sortie since then. Like, that's it. I still have a slot for him. He still has a frame slot. He still has my loadout. And I haven't really touched him. And I don't feel like playing him. So I don't regret buying him because I like him, but I have no interest to play him anymore. So it's weird. Like, I have some of those, but I think as far as regret... Now, can I regret something that I haven't built yet, but I regret spending cred on the blueprints?
I mean, it's your question, so
that's
go
fair.
For it.
Wukong. I know, right? Wukong gets such the brunt of it, but yeah, I bought the Wukong part blueprints when we were in a different clan when we first started, and I bought all of them before forming our clan. I was like, yeah, Wukong, he looks so cool. And then every single time I open up my Foundry and I see them there, I'm like, ugh, no, I should have saved my credits. I probably would have needed them more than I need this blueprint. And I've considered selling it several times because I just, But yeah, I do kind of regret spending the credits on that. My credits would have been used elsewhere, most definitely. But, so the Reddit had a lot of really interesting things. I love looking at it. I literally look at it every single day just to see if there's any interesting discussions or anything to be a part of, or kind of just to see what the community thinks. I know a lot of people use the official forums, and I know a lot of people use Reddit. I use Reddit for almost every single game that I go to. So in every game that I play, I always check the Reddit. I know that's it's just a huge place where the community is. So I'm really curious to what you guys think. If you guys have an opinion about any discussion that we talked about, or any of the posts that we talk about, or if you have thoughts on Korra or the Saryn change, or really just anything that's been talked about the dev stream, or just anything about the game, feel free to email us. We would love to read that. As soon as we start getting in some emails, we're actually going to try to do an email section where we actually read your guys' emails and we answer questions, or we see what the community opinion is, because you guys can listen to us talk about this all however many hours this ends up being, but at the end of the day, we also really want to know what you guys think, because at the end of the day, it's about the community and it's about everybody that plays, and you guys might have something that might change our opinions or might make us look at something a little bit different, and I really would like that. So definitely, if you have any thoughts, shoot us an email. It's at TennoTalk@gmail.com. Nice and easy, and we'd love to hear what you think.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's going to be the end of our show today. We're wrapping up episode 2. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. I know there is only one more dev stream until between now and TennoCon, so I know that they're going to give themselves a little bit of an extra break so TennoCon can be extra cool. We are still going to TennoCon, so I'm super excited to see all of you guys and kind of enjoy that experience together. So we're going to go ahead and sign it off, and until next time, stay safe, Tenno. TennoTalk is produced and edited by Rebecca and Jeremy Goodrich. Music for the show is provided by purple-planet.com. You can follow us on Twitter at tenno_talk, and you can also email on the show at tennotalk@gmail.com. And Jeremy and Rebecca also stream on Twitch at TennoTalk, and they stream on Monday and Wednesday from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern, and Friday and Saturday from 8 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern. You can find the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and all the most major podcast feeds. If it is not on your podcast subscriber feed of choice, please let us know. We will get it on it as soon as possible. And if you like what you're listening to, please leave a review. That'll help us stay up a little bit and let other Tenno like you guys find out about the podcast. As always, thank you for listening, and we'll see you guys next week.